Hi, beautiful souls. Just checking. We will just do a refresh on here. Let's see if we're actually live, which is looking wonderful. Hope you're all well. It's another Monday and we're back. Angels in action. My name's Susie Antara and welcome. If you've not been before, then I hope you'll stay with us and enjoy this hour or two with myself and Larkin on this our YouTube channel. You can also find us through Facebook as well, should that be where you are. If for some reason you have come through either YouTube or Facebook and you need to give StreamYard permission to allow us to see your lovely comments with your names. So looking forward to getting started. Welcome everybody. Larkin will be joining us as soon as she can. As always on a Monday afternoon, she's dealing with her rescue animals. And it's always such a blessing, isn't it, that we can look after our animals in that way. There's so many out there now in great need. So yes, here we are. And while we're waiting for Larkin, I thought I would share my journey with crystals. Crystals are some of my favourite. Well, they are one of my most favourite. I don't like to refer to them as tools, but they certainly can be a tool to help you on your journey through your spiritual growth and development. They can help you to connect to the subtle energies and energy vibrations that surround us. And I'm sure, as you can see this side behind me here, my lovely little family of crystal skulls. And yeah, I just love them. They are part of my family now. That's how I see them. That's how I resonate with them. And I love being a keeper of crystals. I don't say that I own them. I don't say that I refer to them as mine, but you know, you come to understand when you work with crystals that you are in fact just a keeper of their beautiful energy and vibration. And when they come to you, and I learned that lesson, if we want to call it a lesson, very early on in life when I was working with crystals, that I would buy them and they would either disappear or I'd have this sudden intuitive feeling that I needed to gift them to somebody. So they didn't always stay with me, which was at the beginning. I just sort of felt, oh, that's... Hi, Kim. Lovely to see you. Thanks for popping in, Angel. Just waiting on Larkin to join us. And in the meantime, I'm just going to share a little bit about crystals. And if you're a crystal lover or you've got a question about crystals, just pop it in the comments and let's see where we go with it. So my journey with crystals began I say very soon after, but I don't really in truth know. Afternoon, Robin, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Looking forward to today's Monday session with Angels in Action. And I'm just sharing about crystals. So my journey began with crystals after my husband passed away to the world of spirit. He was 38, I was 34. And I don't know how soon after, where I was, what I was doing, but I remember connecting with this beautiful lady. And I can't recall her name. I can't recall where we connected, how we connected. I just remember this lovely conversation with this lovely lady. And I've ever since described her as being an earth angel. That's the only way I can describe her, for the simple fact that I can't recall anything else other than how she looked. And she would have been about 5'11", 6 foot maybe. She had the most gorgeous long brown hair, most beautiful brown eyes, and just felt very, very compassionate. And at that point in time as well, other than most of my angelic experiences that I'd had, I didn't really know much about angels and the energy of angels, etc. So I simply accepted the fact that I'd met this beautiful lady, had this wonderful conversation with her, and she gave me a rose quartz heart. And she said to me, rose quartz is a beautiful crystal to work with when in times of grief and sorrow and sadness. So she explained how it worked. And again, at that time, my knowledge was was non-existent really with regards to crystals. So I accepted what she told me, and she said, just carry it around with you when you're really feeling sensitive, emotional, need to feel its strength, just hold it against your heart, sleep with it under your pillow. So of course, rather than being very skeptical about it, I for some reason sort of intuitively knew that it was the right thing to do. So that's what I did. So I remember sleeping with this beautiful crystal underneath my pillow. And the next thing that I was inspired to do was to go for a crystal therapy session. Now, here where I live in Hull, we're talking 30 years ago now, spirituality, other than spiritual churches, spirituality, crystal shops, holistic therapies, that sort of thing, were almost, I would say, non-existent. There was very, very, very few people around that were interested and practiced, shall we say. So at first it was a little bit challenging finding a crystal therapist, but I was guided to find one, and I went for a therapy treatment. And again, I went with a completely open mind. I'm very blessed that I think that I'm that type of personality naturally anyway. So I went for this therapy session, and she popped me on the couch under a lovely warm snuggly blanket, pulled some blinds down, so the room was complete, apart from a light that she left switched on at that point, was dark. And so she explained what was going to happen with the crystals and how she would be placing them on or around my body, and just to lay and enjoy the experience. And I remember feeling such a sense of comfort and being held and warmth. And there were certain times when I felt something on my body, but nothing. But then in other parts, nothing. And I know she'd explained she was going to place one on each of the chakra points, and we'll go into that a little bit more shortly. And then she popped a blindfold across my eyes, and that was it. And I laid there, and I felt very warm, very comforted. And then very slowly, I started to see colours. And now I understand what those colours were, but they went from like red to orange to yellow to pink to blue to a beautiful purple. And then at one point, there was just the whole room just glowed with this golden light. And I genuinely thought she'd opened the blinds and the sun was shining through. It was that beautiful, this golden light. And it just felt so warming. And of course, when the session finished and I was sat talking to her, she hadn't opened the blinds at all. The room was still dark when she took the blindfold off me, and then she slowly switched the light on so I could adjust to the lighting and everything. And it was just incredible. And that started me on my journey with crystals. And I have lots of lovely other stories that I can tell around that as well. But they certainly are. I started working with a lady called Melody. If you're a crystal lover, you may have come across her books. She started out as a geologist, so she, I guess, had a sort of more scientific background. And then she learned by working with the crystals as she was finding them in the earth and everything. She started to discover their vibrational energies. So she moved into working with crystals. And she's written some lovely books. One is called Love is in the Earth. Melody has now transitioned to the spiritual realm, where I'm sure one day I will be blessed and feel her connection and tune in with her. But that's something else I want to do. But yes, so if you're interested, look out for her books. I'm sure they can still be found. So I started training. I did my crystal therapy training, and then I've just used them ever since. So Kim, I've got most of my crystals in a glass cabinet. So my question is, there any you shouldn't place together? For me personally, no, absolutely not. They can all be together as much as you want. Yeah, they just will vibrate with their own little energies. But no, for me, there isn't a crystal that you can sit. I mean, I've got rose quartz, a beautiful jasper. I've got clear quartz here. I've got some more clear quartz down there. I've got this beautiful one up here. Unfortunately, I can't remember what it is. It was a gift, and it was an unusual name. And you know when you wish you'd written it down and then haven't. So, she's now tumbled down onto the floor. Okay, we'll pick her up in a minute, no worries. But no, I don't believe yet you can. The only thing, there is certain crystals that because of the minerals that are within them, you have to just be aware of what those minerals are. So some crystals have quite a lot of copper in them. There are other, I've got one tiny crystal which isn't here, and again, I can't remember its name, but I remember when I was given it, I was told to keep it in a little box so that it didn't get handled a lot, because apparently one of the minerals within this crystal supposedly was cyanide. So, but I've since learned that it's so minute, and that it's not that. It would only be if you put it in water that it could leach into the water. So yeah, so there are some crystals that it's worth looking at their geology, their mineral content, just to check to see whether or not they're suitable for use in water, mainly is the way I would say that. But in terms of storage and keeping them together, no, absolutely not. I went to, again, another beautiful story, at the time that I was working with crystals and studying my courses. One of my big questions was, how am I going to remember all the names? And as I've just proven with the lovely angel who's just decided to float to the floor, how do I remember every name of the crystals? You can't. It's not possible. There are thousands of crystals out there, and to remember them all would take, I don't know, a brain like a computer maybe. But yeah, so I was struggling with this, because I was worrying that with my course, I wouldn't remember all my crystal names, and how would I know when to use the right ones? And all of these questions came to mind. And I'd gone away to Glastonbury for a weekend, spending my time down there. Hi, Leona, welcome. Thank you to you as well. The lovely Dublin. And yeah, I went to Glastonbury. Hi, Mel, welcome. Lovely to see you. We're just having a chat around crystals at the moment. And I met this beautiful lady. She was a friend of the owner of the bed and breakfast I was staying in, and she'd come for a visit. So we got chatting, and it turned out she was lovely, and her husband was a crystal therapist. So she invited me to their cottage to meet him, which I thought was, very lovely of her. So the next day we went off to meet her husband, arrived at the cottage, and it's just the energy that just reverberated around it and from it before you even walked up to the door was just amazing. It's beautiful. And as I walked in the door, my eyes just didn't know where to look, didn't know where to turn, because every surface was covered in crystals. Windowsills, shelves, tables, chairs. And when he took me into his therapy room, there wasn't an inch of space that didn't have a crystal on it. So, of course, we had an amazing conversation about crystals. But when I asked him about when I explained to him about my concerns about my crystal learning, he said, I don't know all the names of my crystals. I mean, he had a chaise lounge where there was just all these crystals sat on there. And he said, those on there, he said, the ones that I work with the most when I'm working with clients. He said, but I don't know the names of every one of them. He said, I just use my intuition to guide me to which ones I need to work with that particular person. And from that day on, I just was so more settled around working with crystals. So if that's something that's of a concern to you, don't worry if you don't know all the names. If it feels right and the energy's flowing and you've got a good connection, then that's the crystal you're meant to be holding, working with. So let me just have a look here with Leona. Of course, Angel. Yeah, we will send you some healing. When Larkin joins us, I'll see, perhaps we can do a little healing session together for you. But most definitely, I will add you to my healing list and sending you lots of love to help you through this particular time. And if you're somebody that's interested in crystals, I would suggest working with rose quartz at this time if you've got family issues going on, because it's a beautiful crystal. And if you've got people who don't necessarily resonate with crystals or have a belief in them, then using a rose quartz is a very gentle energy. And you can introduce crystals into the home in so many different ways. You know, that crystal there that was an angel shape, my lovely skulls, you know, if you've got a family member or a friend who's really struggling with something and you want to help them and you think a crystal might do that, just find a little crystal ornament, something that it's carved into, and that way you can gift it as an ornament, and the fact that it's a crystal will be sort of secondary to them but important for you, because you'll know why you're gifting it and sending it in that way. So if this, Leona, if I could ask, is there a particular thing that you could share regarding health? And I could perhaps then maybe look to see if I can recommend a crystal that could be used to help you with this. I mean, I can give an example. My eldest son really doesn't believe in what I do. He calls it woo-woo, and, you know, he just thinks it's all a bit witchified and stuff like that. But he's happy to, I guess, just be a little bit open. He listens. And I remember one particular time, when he was younger, he was complaining a lot of really bad headaches. And I was like, well, come on, let's try some crystals for your headaches. And he's like, no, not doing that. So I was like, okay, well, that's fine. But, you know, I'll just maybe will help there. So what I did was I popped a black tourmaline crystal, and I've still got it even now. And I popped this crystal on his windowsill, which was, his bed was facing his window. So I popped it on his windowsill behind the curtain. And as boys are, they don't, you know, necessarily draw the curtains that much, do they? And after about 2 days, I just sort of said to him, I said, how's your head these days? How's your headaches? And he went, oh, he said, I don't think I've had one for a couple of days. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's, you know, that's really good. I like the sound of that. So I left it another week. Oh, bless you, darling. Oh, I can imagine. Yeah. Thank you, King, for sharing your in here, but this is not the space for that. So I will just remove that one and and sorry, I'm just dealing with this comment, and then I will be with you, Leona. Thank you. Okay, yes, so bless her. There we go. So you have a little understanding. So let me just have a look, see. So obviously I'm not saying that crystals do cure, but they can very much help facilitate the vibrational energy and the issues that you're having. So I would imagine that one of the things that perhaps you are struggling with is appetite, as in, you know, wanting to eat and things like that. So carnelian is a beautiful crystal to help with your appetite. Now, on my list of crystal properties, and again, you know, we all understand that when we're working with vibrational energies, we also have our conventional alongside that. So in no way is anything that I'm sharing here to replace what your conventionals. I know, do I, Leona, but we soon move them on with love and positivity. They can always find a way, I'm sure. So, yeah, I know. So the best way to deal with that, Leona, I find, is just to send them on their way with, it's a lovely technique that I learned, a Hawaiian ritual called Ho'oponopono. And it's all you do is you say, thank you, please forgive me, I love you, I'm sorry. And you don't have to say them. Don't have to say all of them. You can just say some of them. You can just say it in any order. So with that, the case of King Taro, I'm thank you, I love you, and please forgive me, because part of the Ho'oponopono is that it's something that we've attracted as well. And again, that's something to explain in more depth at a different time. But when you have that attraction, it brings it in. You just send it away with forgiveness. So we'll send him with our love and forgiveness. So yeah, so some of the crystals that you can work with. Yeah, so they're all popping in now, aren't they? Thank you to Shona. You may for your lovely message, but not here today. And then we'll delete her. There we go. Should any of these be bothering you guys, just send them, just block and delete them. I've hide that comment. There we go. So where were we? We're with Leona. Yeah. So coming back to you, Leona, some of the crystals that you can work with for what's going on for you health-wise at the moment are amethyst, carnelian, which we've already mentioned, citrine, selenite, malachite, fluorite, and peridot, and one called bronzite. So, and they are said to help with those that are having healing health issues with cancer. So I'm just going to go through and do a bit of blocking and deleting here, guys, just so you're not bothered by these. You know, you've come here, haven't you, because you enjoy our Monday sessions, and I really don't want you to be bothered by these lovely souls who think that they can just pop in as they please. Yeah. So hopefully that's disappeared with them. So where were we? Leona. Okay, darling, let's just pop you here. Bless you. Okay. So other aspects of working with helping just keep your energy in balance is working on your chakras as well. And that may be something that, because of your energy being so weak and tired, that it's not something you would do yourself. But I am going to be putting together a chakra meditation for healing. So if you keep an eye on the YouTube channel, it will be popping up there very soon. I can't say exactly how soon, because I have family issues as well, health-wise, with my parents. But yeah, we're getting to that. So Leona, I don't know if these are any crystals that would resonate for you, or you'd want to work with them, but it's certainly worth a consideration in terms of. I'm also very much a firm believer in Thank you, Leona. That's really kind of you. Yeah. And it's just, yeah, I think many of us at this moment in time are going through challenging times. I've just recently been offering some readings on my pages with a beautiful oracle deck called the Tarot of the Dead, which I used here last week. And 2 or 3 of the ladies that I shared with there are all having health issues, either for themselves or with family and around them. So I think, just sending healing out for each of us as well is a beautiful thing to do. Sometimes, honestly, Leona, sometimes that's the way it happens. We can go through life I didn't ever think of crystals or even think about working with them, as I said, until this lovely earth angel gifted me a rose quartz, and that started my journey with them. I do believe that they come and they come to us when we need them. They find their way to us. So now that you're open to working with them, connecting with them, you may well find that you'll start receiving gifts of crystals or finding ways to start working with them. Isn't it interesting that I was drawn, because when I was setting up the recording for today, and I was thinking, well, I know Larkin doesn't always get to arrive with us when we start because of her rescues, that what could I talk about? And I just thought, I can talk about crystals because they are something that I love, and I do believe that in their own way, they can help us with our vibrational energy. They can help bring a resonance to our energy, and they can help us find what I felt they did for me when I started working with crystals was they started to open up other doors that led me down different directions, and that in that respect I then found myself on a different path. Right, Haley and Cal Nixon, I'm not quite sure what you want to know, but we're not really in that energy frame here. So thank you very much for coming in. But we're going to just take these away because I am not feeling the energy of love coming from this comment. Okay, so Mel. Okay, yeah, beautiful crystals. It's hard, when you work with crystals, it's like which ones to choose, but you will find over time that you will begin to resonate with particular ones that become your favorites. And as you look at their properties and you look at where you're working with them, then you'll find that they're helping you to work towards rebalancing the vibrational energy of that aspect of you. They'll also guide you to perhaps starting to develop working with angels or spirit or animals, anything like this. So for me, amethyst is very much a crystal that is a beautiful crystal for helping you to open up and develop your third eye connection, but it's also very good at helping you with addictive behaviors. Now, I'm not saying that you've got an addiction, but an addictive behavior can be something as simple as, putting sugar in your tea every day. It could be something as simple as eating that bar of chocolate. It doesn't have to be drinking lots of wine, smoking, taking drugs, that sort of thing. It can be something very small, but something that's become almost, when you find you've got almost a need to do it on a regular basis, so it can help with that. Rose quartz, obviously, as I've just mentioned, is very much, for me, a great crystal to help deal with emotions, to help bring balance to emotions when you're feeling sad, down. It's a great one for children, if they have like night terrors, don't sleep very well. I introduced rose quartz to a friend whose baby wouldn't settle on an evening. and she popped a rose quartz crystal on the windowsill in the baby's nursery. And moving forward, the baby started to sleep beautifully after that. You know, she was a lovely little girl. And yeah, so there's many ways that you can use these crystals. Selenite for me, very much it's a beautiful, I feel, grounding energy, even though a lot of people wouldn't say you would use it as a grounding crystal. But I do find it helps ground my energy when I'm wanting to connect to the angelic realms, because it's one that will take you to be able to connect with the angels. It's also a very good protecting energy. So it can be used a lot in crystal grids or placed around the home if you want to put like a protective bubble around your home or your environment, wherever you're sat, something like that. And then you can also use it as a cleanser. You can use it to cleanse other crystals. You can get flat pieces of selenite now called selenite beds, and you place your crystals on those, and it just cleanses the crystals because it's a self-cleaner. It will cleanse itself with selenite. So beautiful. Let's see, Leona. Okay, is it bad luck to buy your own crystals? Nope, not bad luck at all. Nope. Quite often, buying your own crystals is the best way, I feel, because you are drawn to that crystal for a particular reason. And an example I can give of that is I very rarely, and I do say rarely, suffer with headaches, you know, unless in my younger days when they were self-inflicted through a good night out, which, yeah, that's all changed now. But no, I don't suffer with headaches. And it would have been, about maybe 2007, 2008. And again, this was at a time that I was doing my crystal course. I was learning to be a crystal therapist. And I had planned to go on a bit of retail therapy at the weekend. I'd had a relatively busy week at work. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to go and spend, have a day in town, have a wander around, treat myself to lunch, all the nice things that we like to do for ourselves. And I woke up with a headache, the most phenomenally banging headache I could ever say that I've had. It was probably the closest I've got to having a migraine. And I lay there and I thought, oh, that's it. I'm not going into town. I'm just going to sleep this off. I'm just going to rest. And I did. I probably slept for about another hour or so. And then this persistent little feeling kept coming in, going, you need to go to town. And I'm like, no, I don't want. This is when you start sort of having those little conversations in your head with yourself. Like, no, I'm not going. I'm not feeling too good. My head hurts. Anyway, the headache had eased a fraction, enough for me to feel like I could get up. And so I got up, went downstairs, had a drink and all of that. And still this persistent little feeling, this little whisper was like, go to town, go to town. So I was like, all right, okay. So anyway, drove into town, parked up, and I was like, okay, you've brought me to, by this point, I'd realised I was being guided. So I said, right, okay, you've brought me this far. Where are we going? Where am I going? And it was like crystal shop. Well, at this point in time, there was only one crystal shop in Hull that I knew of in the town. So I wandered into Kathmandu. And as I walked in, I felt a shift in my headache. It was almost like it was starting to clear a little bit, but it was still there. And I walked upstairs, and as I got up the stairs, this crystal bed drew me, and it was clear quartz. And I was like, oh, that's really just lighting up for me. There was just something about it that drew my attention. So I went across to it and I picked it up. And in that instant, the minute I touched it, my headache just disappeared. It went completely. And of course, for me, that was like, wow, that's just phenomenal. That's just shown me that what we're studying, what I'm learning about, is actually true. So I thought to myself, right, I've only got a certain amount of money in my purse. If it's that much, then that's what I'm going to take it home. And I went downstairs, and because it didn't have a price on it. I went downstairs and said to the chap behind the till, you know, how much is this? And he went, it's £20. I was like, oh, okay, it's mine. And I took it home, and it's been with me ever since, and I still have it to this day. And so that shows how quickly a crystal can work, but it also shows how I was guided to find that crystal and buy it. So no, it's not bad luck to buy a crystal or your own angel cards. You can. The one thing I would say when you do buy crystals or cards is you just clear the energy. And I think I was just reading there, Leona, that you use sage, and so you can use sage to cleanse your crystals. You can use water, you can use candle smoke, you can use angel essences, you can use aromatherapy sprays. There's all sorts of ways to cleanse and clear your crystals before you use them. You may find crystals are gifted to you, so they come to you in that manner. Yeah, there's lots of ways you can receive crystals, but yeah, you can buy your own. And you can buy your own decks of cards. I mean, I've created my own deck of cards. So, you know, these were not gifted to me by anybody. They weren't bought by anybody, you know, and these are a culmination of 15 years of me putting together angel drawings, paintings, pictures, and then in the last, well, about 2 years ago now, I felt inspired to just put them all together in a deck of cards. So yeah. So your daughter suffers with anxiety. Okay. So with anxiety, there's a lovely crystal called peridot that I know is very good at working with anxiety. Anxiety can be subjective to what's also bringing the anxiety on. So we could look at it as anxiety from the form of, you know, that's just what it is. But we could also look at it, is there something that does she get anxious because she's not confident about doing things? Does she get anxious because she has fear around certain situations? So for anxiety, and I've got a lovely list here of crystals that we can use. So some of the anxiety crystals that you can use are aquamarine, green aventurine, malachite, blue calcite, green calcite, orange calcite, citrine, moss agate, labradorite, and rhodonite. If we look further down and we look at this from a fear perspective, again, we've got aquamarine, green aventurine, where was I? Carnelian, moonstone, rose quartz, sodalite, tiger's eye, tourmaline, spirit quartz, Herkimer diamond. If we look at it from a confidence issue, it could be bronzite, jade, or moonstone. So really part of anxiety can be such a broad spectrum of what it is. So if you can sort of, I guess, hone down a little bit as to what causes the anxiety, then we could perhaps be a little bit more specific. But even so, with that list in mind, I would say, which ones are you intuitively guided to? You know, what ones make you feel that they could be beneficial, and then work with those. And we determine a lot, we trust a lot in our vibrational energy to help connect us with crystals and our intuition. Okay, so let's see, we'll just pop this one up, Leona. Going, oh, she's private, very hard to get to the bottom of the anxiety. She doesn't want to go to counselling, and again, she's 16. Okay, so that's fine. So what I would say would be, given that she's 16, and and girls tend to like pretty things as well. You know, maybe some rose quartz, some aquamarine, green aventurine. Quite often at 16, you know, we're not feeling very confident. We don't have that sense of self-worth, self-confidence, self-esteem. So for me, I would say orange calcite or citrine as well would be beneficial, because both of those help build your confidence. They help work with the solar plexus, so that helps to define, you know, bring up our confidence levels as well. But what I'll do is I'm just thinking the best way to get you this list. Oh, that's wonderful, Leona. So you've got somebody, you know, close to you anyway, who you can chat to and have a word, have a discussion around crystals and cards, etc. So it's lovely when you've got somebody within the family to help you with that as well. Let's just pop this one up. Your other children have a best for those against medication. Okay, yeah. I mean, as I said earlier, you know, as holistic therapists, it's not our role to diagnose and treat, make assumptions about what treatments are needed. I'm very much a firm believer in that we work with our energy field. When we start working with our energy field, it brings that energy vibration into balance, you know, and crystals and other vibrational energies, medicines, treatments, therapies can all be beneficial. And obviously, you know, there may come a point where you have to do the conventional route just to help ease, but then you can still use the holistic alongside that. You know, we started off hundreds and hundreds of years ago on our beautiful planet Earth with the energy of Mother Earth around us, and herbs and minerals and crystals and the natural elements that surrounded us were all that we had, that we could tune into and tap into to use to help us. So hence, you know, the lotions and potions that were made by the shamans and the people that were referred to as witches, but, you know, I call them their own herbal therapists and things like that. So that's all we had. But then obviously as the Industrial Revolution came in and we started to change and we started to incorporate a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? Machinery, a lot more chemicals into the atmosphere. You know, we started to build what I believe to be a toxic world. You know, we have all these chemicals that surround us in the sprays that are used in the cars that we drive, the chemicals that we use to clean our homes, all of this. And we've incorporated that, you know, and even before we were born, you know, we were absorbing the energies of these toxic extras. I'm struggling with my words today. You know, so we've become a world filled with that, and it's wonderful to see that we are now all coming together in our own different way to find ways to change that situation within this world. I'm just going to take this comment down, Leona, because I'm just feeling like I'm blocking myself from you. So let's just see if we can. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so we've got to balance. I feel we have to balance what's taking place in the world real time today and the holistic avenues that we've got access to, have had access to for centuries, but are now really only starting to bring them back into being and start incorporating them alongside the conventional, until perhaps one day, my hope is that we can change that and be holistic, and then only add the conventional if and when it's needed. You know, we could look at it from the perspective of these creations, the evolution that we've had of all the beautiful inventions that have come about, you know, the machinery that we use in hospitals, the treatments that are now, you know, were they divinely inspired by these doctors and scientists who received that information to create these because of the world that we now live in, that we need this balance. And as I say, I'm a huge advocate and a believer in holistic therapies, but I'm also, as a nurse of 40 years in the health service, I'm very aware that, you know, the conventional treatments have come into being for a reason, to help us as well. And I think it's all about the word complementary. It complements us. So it's looking at what we're taking conventionally, what impact that's having on our vibrational system, on our energy, on our physical well-being, on our mental and emotional state, and then finding the conventional that can balance that. I've been working with a medical herbalist for 15 years now. When I say working, in that I'm a client of his. I was first introduced to him when I went to a herbal shop locally, because I was looking for things like oil of primrose, rose oils, or St. John's wort, all those sort of things, because I was going through the menopause and having very much the emotional highs, emotional lows, and all of that. The doctor had put me on HRT therapy. Didn't work for me, made me feel very ill. So I decided to go and look at the holistic. They introduced me to this medical herbalist. He put me on a tincture after working with me, and I was on that tincture, and I have to say I've been blessed. I have not needed to return to hormonal replacement therapy. That's my story. That's my journey. That's what's worked for me. But since then, whenever I have something that's needed, I realized a couple of years ago that I had adrenal fatigue syndrome. And again, I went to him first. He did his checks, he agreed with me, put me on a tincture for that. And I've been taking that ever since. So I am a firm believer in working with holistic therapies. I'm a batch flower therapist as well. So I work with batch flower remedies. I'm very much, because dis-ease, as it's referred to, I believe, and as do many others believe, begins with our emotions. And when we have our emotions that are out of balance, and we hold on to them, we store them in our body, we store them in our energy field, that impacts our auric energy, that in turn then impacts our chakra energy, that then begins to impact the physical body. And that's where dis-ease begins to manifest. So if you can get to the core essence of, this is why I was saying about the anxiety with your daughter, if you can get to the core essence of what this anxiety stems from, you can deal with that emotion and find the things to help balance that emotion. And by doing so, then you can improve the vibrational energy, then the physical body starts to come back into balance, and it becomes a way of bringing everything back into balance. So again, ladies, if anybody is beginning to just message you and it's causing you a problem, just let me know, and we'll just do what we need to do to send them on their way with love. So hopefully, Leona, that's given you some food for thought, something to consider and look at working with. And I'm just going to pop through the comments now and just say hello. Hi, Karen. Thank you so much for popping in. Sorry, I didn't acknowledge you earlier. Obsidian. Yeah, it's another bit. You know, I don't think there's a crystal that you could mention that I wouldn't go, oh, yeah, lovely. Obsidian is a great crystal for grounding your energy, for releasing any negative energy that's around you. I have a black obsidian, and both my black obsidian, my black tourmaline actually sit around when I'm working with my computer, around my TVs, things like that. Really good for that sort of energy. Yeah, beads for baby teething. Yeah, absolutely wonderful. Sage is amazing. I actually like to use Palo Santos as a cleansing smoke. It's known as holy wood. If you're drawn to using that, please be aware that there is some, just do a bit of research around what you're buying, because for a while Palo Santos was becoming quite rare because it was being overly farmed. But I do believe now that there's some that is being, they're replanting and stuff. So yeah, but white sage is beautiful. Mel, just have a little. So a social anxiety disorder. Okay, no, okay. So for me, Mel, thinking about the fact that this is social anxiety, as I tune into the energy here, my sense is this is perhaps to do with a lack of confidence, lack of self-esteem. Because it began at the age of 4, I'm sort of feeling that perhaps at that age something took place where perhaps your confidence took a little bit of a battering, and it only takes one small thing to happen to change how you feel, and that then can become. At the age of 4, we're looking at working with our sacral chakra, for developmental age. And, if it becomes caught up in that energy and then it gets stuck there and it's never shifted, then it just evolves and grows with us as we grow older as well. So moving back to the fact that it's social anxiety, I would look at working with perhaps orange calcite and citrine, but also work with rose quartz, because there's a feeling of needing to nurture yourself, some self-love here as well going on. But I'll just list the anxiety crystals again. So you have aquamarine, green aventurine, malachite, blue calcite, green calcite, orange calcite, citrine, moss agate, labradorite, and rhodonite. With confidence, we're looking at bronzite, jade, and moonstone. But I also feel I'm drawn to ones for the lack of courage as well. And with that, we've got aquamarine again, bloodstone, we've got carnelian again. I do love my carnelian. Garnet, jade, tiger's eye, hematite, rhodochrosite, turquoise. So there is a lot that we could look at here. And I'm thinking that what I would do is, I would make this a PDF document and I will pop it in my group, Angels and Intuitive Connection. So if you'd like to gain access to it, then just come and become a member of the group, and there's lots of other documents in there as well that you'll have access to. I'm just having a look at perhaps other ones. See, I'm also feeling I'm drawn to emotional imbalance as well around this area. So I would think amethyst, aquamarine again, so aquamarine is coming across through the anxiety, to the lack of courage, to the emotional imbalance. So perhaps aquamarine here could be a possibility of one that you could work with. Green aventurine, where was I? Sorry. I've lost my way now. No, not green aventurine, ignore that one. Blue lace, agate, garnet, jade, malachite, moonstone, rose quartz, which I've mentioned, and turquoise. So there's quite a few that you could perhaps consider. But for me, I'm very much drawn to the orange crystals, so orange calcite, carnelian, and the rose quartz for yourself, just to see. Because sometimes it's better to start off with 1 to maybe 3 just to begin with, so that you don't overwhelm your vibrational energy with the crystals. But the one thing that I will say, when you're working with crystals, they always will know, if you like, when it's time to stop working for you. So you may not feel a connection with them, you may feel something shifted or changed, and that can bring a lot of difference around as well. So let's see. Leona, could you private me? Okay. Leona, if you just drop me a private, just find me on Messenger, Susie Antara, and yeah, I will certainly pop it into a messenger for you. I'll get it uploaded as a PDF document, and that way then I can start sending it out. Okay, so Shelley is being really kind and offering to read for you ladies. So I think it's time to remove these messages as well. So I'm sure that's very sweet of her, and thank you. And here comes the lovely Larkin. Hello, beautiful. Oh, hi. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you for being here. Well, I had some animal rescue calls today.
I thought that would be the case. So
I've been on the phone with transport and vets. So
oh, bless you.
It's a wild morning, but it's all right.
Okay,
welcome
excellent.
and happy to see all of you. So welcome. Yes, good evening, Leona.
So I've just been sharing about my love of crystals, ways to work with them, and and I've been receiving some lovely questions on how we can use them and how we can help with them. So, but I'm just in the process now of deleting a lovely lady called Shelley, who's very kindly offering to read for everybody. So,
well, for others like her, I delight in taking screenshots of those lovely people, and I actually post and share them once I report and block them.
Okay, well,
so,
okay.
Yes. Wonderful. So I hope you enjoyed your time with us, Shelley. Yes. Wonderful. Look at all these wonderful people here. We have Melly. I'm sorry, Melly. I'm looking at Leona and Mel at the same time. Karen, and of course, Shelley. Let's see, who else do we have on here? So lovely. Karen, welcome. Michelle, fabulous. Well, guys, you might not be able to, it's still daylight here for us. It's only 1 p.m. You can see the sun coming in.
I know, lucky you.
Well, it hasn't been, it's been cold and rainy. So I love that we have this variety, Susie, that we can both bring from around the world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All of our wonderful listeners.
Right, I'm just going to do a quick.
That's wonderful. Oh, obsidian. Did I yeah, you guys remember when I was some of you a few weeks ago, when Susie and I were talking about crystals, I was sharing about the woman that gave me the obsidian necklace with the cat that would not stay on my body.
Oh, that's right, yes.
I still have that necklace in a little box. It just didn't want to it just didn't want to be on me. But that is one of the ways that when we in the Awakening Your Intuition program that's going to be starting in March, it's actually a 12-week course. We will talk about and answer those questions in the Awakening Your Intuition group. But that I have, you guys can find that on my Facebook page. But we will actually be going into a whole section where we're talking about crystals and that. And one of the ways that I have found fun to develop and practice intuitive abilities as well, and just enhance your sensitivities, is just with objects, and crystals are a fun way. A lot of people like to do that. I'll do it with anything, even like this lighter. But crystals, they're so alive with conscious energy that that's a great way to just start to enhance and practice your own sensitivities. That each one has its own personality, right? And its own frequency, and not just the type of crystal. You don't even have to use crystals, you can use rocks. But that was something that was really awakened in me during my shamanic training was, we had to go inside the rock. I've shared with you guys, and like get to know the whole world inside of the rock and the rock itself. And you can do the same thing with your crystals. Really get to know them. Susie and I have mentioned how when you hold them in your hand for a long period of time, like you'll notice it almost right away, but as weeks, months, or years go by, that crystal or even that rock will actually start to form to fit your hand. You'll find just the comfortable way. It's crazy, right? Because you think, oh, it's already formed, it can't do that. But just try it. Take a rock or a crystal and hold it every day. I had a rose quartz that when I used to be, I told you guys last week, when I would get on to do readings, paid readings, I would be a nervous wreck. But before and after that person's reading or a group reading, I was all confident. Spirits talking to me. I'd get in front of people and I'd be like, ah. So what I noticed was when I held the rose quartz, I felt confident. Now, maybe it was just psychological, but I felt more confident. And so I went through a few months where I always held a rose quartz in my hand, or I kept it in my pocket and I put my hand around it. And it was amazing because that quartz started to form to my hand. And it's funny, it wouldn't fit as perfectly in anyone else's hand, but it formed perfectly to mine. So you may or may not see a change in the shape. And it sounds like I'm going against the laws of physics here, but just try it. It's something really fun and magical that I have experienced with crystals and rocks. So anyway, continue with wherever you were.
Oh, that's fine. I was just you arrived perfectly, actually, because I was just paused for the fact that I was having to send this lovely lady on with
Perfect.
love.
That's perfect. Well, I wasn't sure if you were on or not because I didn't see you on any of my feed, and I thought, well, I'm just going to be surprised.
Right, okay.
Ready for anything.
Facebook's a funny thing at the moment, isn't it? Trying to show up where we all are.
It is. It is.
Stuff.
It is. Hi, Kim. Welcome. Yeah, it's such
one of the things that did pop up at the beginning was one or two people having like health and family issues. So I thought maybe towards the end we could finish off with just a little healing circle to send out healing energy, because obviously I have my own family issues going on at the moment as well. So that's
funny because I put the angel therapy cards on top of my pile today, and I was actually envisioning doing something like that. And
so does anybody have any more questions on crystals? Oh, do you know, Leona, that was something I was saying earlier. I don't know if you caught it, that, I consider ourselves to be the keeper of crystals, even though we go out and we purchase them, or we're gifted some. We are actually only the keepers, and they do only stay with us for as long as we need them, or even if we need them at all. So the fact that you've maybe you feel you've lost them, it's probably that they've moved on to somebody else who needs the energy of them more than you do at this time. But also, interestingly, if they're meant to, they will come back as well. I have one particular crystal that just disappears every so often, and it can be weeks, months, or even a year or so before and I have no idea where it goes or where it reappears from, but it reappears, and it's a lovely tiny little piece of moonstone. Now, I've got other moonstone crystals, but this particular piece I bought when I was out in India, and it was triangular in shape, and I had every intention of having it made into a piece of jewelry. and that was it. It decided that's what it didn't want to be, I guess. So yeah, so it goes and comes back every so often.
And
but yeah, that can happen.
I do want to throw out there too, I remember when I was working for the parks as a naturalist, and we had to do a week of weeds, where we educated people about weeds. And I think I remember being audited by my director at the time. I had to put together the program, and I was presenting to people, and her eyes were popping out of her head like she was horrified, because everybody's talking about weeds and why people don't like weeds, and I was doing the opposite. I was talking about how we're just labeling them weeds, and how humans like to control everything. So we don't like weeds because we can't control them. And we breed these wimpy little flowers that we have to pay a lot of money for to help the economy, right? And we have to rebuy every year because it makes companies money. And we need to look at the weeds, because weeds are really meant to survive. And dandelion is my favorite flower. That is my flower. So we were looking at that and labeling. And I feel the same way about rocks and crystals. I love crystals as much as the next, and there is a difference. But I also want to share that rocks can be special. I started a rock collection when I was like 2 years old, and I still have some of those rocks. But rocks are, they hold a lot of the same characteristics in form of crystal. There is a difference, obviously, but it's like saying, birds are different than monkeys, but they're both animals, right? And so are we. We're animals too. So my point in sharing this is the same can happen with rocks. If you guys are walking along, you can learn a lot. You might stumble on a rock. It might have a message for you. You might pick one up and put it in your pocket. This connecting with nature and allowing rocks to help teach you your intuitive abilities is, going to help you with your crystal work, if that's what you prefer. But don't forget about the rocks, is my point. I was in a very sacred space way up in the Highlands of Scotland when I lived there. And it was an ancient Celtic burial ground. And many priests and priestesses had been there. It was a sacred space. And I remember feeling like I got up there. I can't even tell you guys. This is a whole nother story. But I got to the top of this peak at the center of this burial ground. And I just put my arms out, and I had a vision of thousands of years of things that had happened there. And everything that had gone on just washed through me like I was watching a movie. One of the most incredible experiences of my life. So I had, on my intention in going there had been, I'm going to take a rock with me, going to let a rock invite itself to come with me as part of this sacred space. And that's one of the things I do when I go anywhere. I will, ask a rock if I can take a rock. So I got done with this experience, and we were on our way out, and I was looking for a rock. Some of these rocks are pretty good size. I mean, not huge, but they weren't like little pebbles. And I looked down, and there was a beautiful rose pink rock. I swear it was natural, in a heart shape. And I thought, that must be the rock I'm supposed to take. And all these hundreds of thousands of rocks, how would I see this rock? And I leaned down to pick it up. And before I even touched it, within me, around me, and radiating out from the rock, I just had this sinking feeling, this like warning feeling. And I heard and felt this voice say, don't you touch that rock. This is a sacred space. I swear to God, I'll never forget this. I'm not easily scared. I knew the power of this, this message. No, nothing is to be removed from this sacred space. It belongs here. It's in a way you can remember it, so you may take this with you. But if you remove this rock from this space, you will regret it. You're not. And I was hunched over, and I just went, okay. And I tiptoed my way out of that space. But in reflection, it made the space all the more sacred. So, they will speak to you. they do have guardians and keepers, which is what I heard, that will speak to you. And as Susie said, they do have an energy of their own and will come and go where they please, because they're part of that bigger maneuver of nature. And that is why, not to change topics, we'll get into this another day, but that is also why the elves were able to speak for and keep and ask and command. It seemed as though they were commanding nature at will. And they were, but it was because they had a mutual permission and relationship from nature to do so. Anyway, my little story.
Beautiful. I love it when that happens.
I haven't told many people, but it's funny.
I have that experience on quite a regular basis. You know, even going out in my own garden, I will look around to see if there's a rock or a stone or a pebble or something that just sort of showing itself to me, and then just sitting. Again, you know, this is all about first experiences, and just, I hope, giving you guys some insight into how you can have your own experiences with tuning into the energy of what's around you, because everything is energy. But again, going back to when I was first learning and studying, and it links perfectly with that sort of story. I was on my course for studying crystals. So, of course, I had to go away for this course, and it was like one weekend every month, and I stayed in a bed and breakfast. And it was always a different one every time I went. And this particular one that I stayed in had a beautiful garden. And like, you went and sat and had your breakfast in the conservatory part. You looked out on the garden, and there was this like low brick wall with, rather than actual concrete and bricks, you know, like bricks and mortar like we're used to, it had been built with rubber, what I would call boulders. So I was sat and you could see the boulders, and obviously they were all, you know, zigzaggy and all over the place. There was no sort of symmetry to them. And I was just sat looking at them. And all of a sudden, this face literally popped out one of the boulders, to the extent that I thought it was actually somebody walking towards me. And I'm like, oh my, my little heart was doing this. I think I maybe turned a little pale. I'm not sure. Fortunately, I was sat on my own, so I don't think it would have mattered anyway. But yeah, and then as soon as I realised that it was actually the boulder had formed a face, I was like, no, I'm imagining it. So I looked away, looked back. No, the face was still there. And this is something that I find as well. You know, we question, we ask ourselves, did I imagine that? Did I make that up? And for me, one of the things that I've found to validate if it's there and I haven't made it up is to look away and look back again. And if it's still there, you haven't made it up. It's, you know, it's part of it. But yeah, so I looked and I just watched this face, and then 3 or 4 started to appear along the wall. And then they just started to just let me know that they were keepers of the boulders. They were rock people. And is it Frozen? I think now there's one of those if you've watched it in the Frozen movie, there's a scene where there's all these rocks with grass over them. So you think they're just boulders to sit on, and then they all come alive and they turn into people. And this was more or less exactly what was happening with this wall as I was. And I remember having this lovely conversation with this particular one that had popped out into my face. And it was like, yeah, you can look at us, but you mustn't take us. You mustn't touch us. You know, we're the guardians of this space. And when I went and asked about the actual land that we were built on, or the place was built on, it was actually a ley line as well. So, you know, so sacred meaning, sacred space, sacred energy can come in many different forms and different places. But yeah, that was my first experience of having the energy of the rocks talk to me. So that was really cool.
That is cool. Kim has a great question, but I wanted to just share. I love Jim's comment where he said, you know, lovely story about rocks, energy, everything is all energy. I just want to remind everybody of that. Everything is energy. We're all made of the same stuff. angels, spirit guides, money, paper money, rocks, plants. We're just energy vibrating at a different frequency and at a different vibration, but all energy is conscious. So don't forget that, my friends.
Beautiful. Most definitely. I mean, one of the things, like you, when I go out places and I walk around, particularly if I'm on a beach, I'm always in tune with the rocks and the pebbles and the sand and everything that's around me. And I can guarantee every time I walk a beach, I find a rock that's in the shape of a heart. And I have got a picture that I took of one, and it was a big heart, and it had a long trail of seaweed coming off it. So
Love it.
for me, it just shows that when you're walking somewhere, when you're honoring where you're walking, be it because you're honoring yourself and your own energy, and you're just really putting your peace and tranquility into that moment, the universe will respond. It will show you something that will remind you that you are loved. And I think that's beautiful as well.
I love Kim's question, and I know Susie's going to have wonderful answers for this. What are your thoughts on Moldavite? And some people say it's too strong for them to use. I want to just generally say, before I turn that over to Susie, that two things. One, be careful of what some people say. Number two, again, guys, this is a mind thing. And it's how and what you use something. I don't believe that something is too strong or too weak for someone to use. I believe it is, what are you wanting to use it for? And is that energy the right match for you in the first place? So, for example, when the obsidian cat necklace exploded off my neck and would not stay on my body, it's not that obsidian. First of all, it's not that it was too weak, that I was too strong for it, or it was too weak, although that could be part of it. But the real issue, there were two real issues there. Number one, the woman that gave it to me was her intentions. She thought her intentions were good towards me, but they really were not. She was attempting to be controlling over me and wanted me to be a follower of hers and follow all of her advice. So part of the reason that necklace would not stay on me is the context of which it was given. The second thing is it's not that obsidian is bad for me. I didn't need all that. This was a lot. There were a lot of beads. There was a big, heavy, I didn't need it. It was supposed to ground me. I was already balanced between the spirit and the non-spirit world. And it just was like weighting me down. And so my energy was like, whoop, nope.
Yeah,
So part of this is trusting your intuition. You're going to be drawn or repulsed by what you need and don't need anyway. So, so what? If maybe someone thinks it was too strong for them, why do they think that? Maybe it made them uncomfortable because it was balancing out an energy that they needed. Maybe they were using it for something they shouldn't have been using it for. Maybe the Moldavite was telling them, you don't need me for this, or don't use me for this. So just keep in tune with the fact that oftentimes we will make assumptions, but maybe the crystal is, or the rock is trying to give us a message. Maybe ourselves, our own energy is saying, please don't use this in that way. And this is part of we can give you answers. Anyone can give you outside answers. But what we're encouraging you to do here is also you find out for yourself. What is it really trying to tell you? What was the Moldavite trying to tell that particular person? That's a really good question to bring up conversation with.
It is. It's a brilliant question. And I absolutely 100% agree with everything Larkin has just said. Again, my journey with crystals, I can share a story around this one as well. And I think sometimes stories are a great way to answer a question and also show how things go, how things work. So we're going to stay with the fact that I was learning and I was studying crystal therapy and training. So all of these crystal experiences came into my life quite quickly in the 2 or 3 years that I was studying and training. And Moldavite was a big one, because one of the things we were taught was you can't work with Moldavite until you've become experienced with working with crystals. You can't work with Moldavite because it's a really powerful crystal. The reason that they gave that this was so is because, I don't know if you're aware, but Moldavite is actually from a meteor that landed on the Russian plains, that it can only be found in this certain area of Russian plains. Are you wearing Moldavite? My piece of Moldavite's away at a jeweler's at the moment, being put into a piece of jewelry.
From an asteroid.
Yeah. So it fell on the Russian plains. It's scattered all over, and it is for me, it's a beautiful crystal. If I'm not even sure we can call it crystal, because it's actually glass. It's glass that is formed from this asteroid when it exploded and landed on the Earth. So when you look at a piece of Moldavite, when you look, you can see through it. It is translucent, but it's a beautiful green color. So the reason they gave was because it came from outer space. It has that energy of extraterrestrial energy. And this is what made it so powerful. And this is why only certain people could work with Moldavite, because their vibrational energy had to be at the level that it would connect to the extraterrestrial energy. So you can imagine young, naive, learning about crystals. I'm like, oh my God, I can't possibly work with Moldavite. And I won't say it made me fearful, but it made me cautious. It made me wary. So I, for a long time, avoided Moldavite. And then I went into a crystal shop in Glastonbury. Absolutely love Glastonbury. For those of you who don't live in the UK, it's a place down south, and it's very, very spiritual. It's close to Stonehenge, and it's just got lots of lovely energy, and it's filled with, well, it used to be filled with crystal shops and everything, but I digress. So anyway, I walked into this particular crystal shop, and the big glass cabinet right in the forefront of the shop was filled with Moldavite. So you imagine, I've been taught that Moldavite is a really high vibrational energy crystal. I can't possibly work with it because it's for extraterrestrial and it has this high vibrational power. And I walk into a shop where the first counter that I come across is completely filled from head to toe with Moldavite. What do you think I did? I walked up to that cabinet, I looked in it, and I picked 2 pieces. Because in that moment, I knew that everything that had been fed to me was their belief system, not mine. And I've had that, well, I've lost one piece. Well, I say lost. One piece has removed itself from my presence, but the one piece that I have got is now with a jeweler at the moment, being set in a piece of jewelry, because I plan on wearing it very soon. But I've had that piece of Moldavite now for probably 20 years, and I love it. It has a very loving, gentle, for me, loving, gentle energy. I enjoy wearing it. I enjoy carrying it around with me. But you also, as Larkin says, you have to remember it's the intention that you set, that you have to work with it, that brings forward the energy and the vibrational change that's going to take place. So if your intent is to just wear it as a piece of jewelry and be happy wearing it like that, then that's how you're going to wear it. That's how it's going to be with you. That's not to say that at some point you may not feel a vibrational energy with it, as Larkin did with her overload, her cat necklace, but on the whole, unless you sit down and set the intention to work with a crystal in a particular way, its vibrational energy is not going to impact you, is my belief. Others may not agree with that. So I would say Moldavite is not too strong for anybody to use. It's how you work with it, the intention that you set to work with it. Any crystal can come in with an energy and a vibration that can make you feel overwhelmed, nauseous, sweaty, because your body is having a physical response to the vibrational energy. And that's because that particular crystal is doing something to clear the imbalance in your energy. I worked with a client many years ago. She loved crystals. She had her own. She carried them around with her. She wore them every day that she could. She came to me for a therapy session, and I think I remember I used rose quartz. I know for a fact I did. And I think I used a couple of grounding crystals. And through the session, she trembled from head to foot. She shook and shook and shook. And when she came round, she went to me, "That's the most peaceful sleep I've had in a long time." Now, I watched her body vibrate from head to physically vibrate, and I expected her to come round at any point and go, "Oh, that was not very pleasant." And she didn't, because what it was doing, it was shifting the energy on a vibrational level. But I was in tune and able to see what it was doing in that fine physical vibration as well. But other people will say, "Well, that made me feel nauseous." If that happens, then remove the crystal. Don't continue with it. And then go back to it, because it's changing. It may be that you need to do it in little moments, everything is bite-sized pieces. One of my mentors always used to say to me, you would have a plate of dinner in front of you. You wouldn't pick it up and tip the whole lot in your mouth and eat it all at once. You would eat it a bite at a time, working with energy, working with crystals, learning, developing, growing. Everything is done a bite at a time. And it's no different, I feel, when you're working with crystals. So hopefully between us, we've answered your Moldavite question, Kim.
I'm going to post this one, but she also made a longer comment. I just didn't post up here because it blocks part of the screen. But thank you, Susie. I once did a crystal workshop, and approximately 20 pieces of clear quartz were placed in front of me. And something I quickly found out, it enhances what you feel.
Oh, absolutely.
I was tired, so could hardly keep awake. Yeah,
definitely.
That comment. So yeah, absolutely. This is what we're talking about. Get to know these crystals, get to know the rocks, enhance your own abilities by working with them. You're so spot on.
I mean, the clear quartz crystal is said to be the master crystal. It's said to be the one that enhances, it acts like a battery charger. So it's said to enhance the vibrational energy of anything, not just crystals, but anything that you put together with it. So that is the one caveat that I would say when I'm working with people and I'm working with clients and I'm sharing, that if you're drawn to clear quartz, then you're drawn to it and you're going to work with it. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just sort of saying, be aware that it can amplify energy, and it can also clear energy very, very quickly. As I said, I don't know if you were here when you heard my story earlier about the clear quartz bed that I found in a shop, which cleared my headache the minute I picked it up. So it is very good at that as well. But yeah, it's just with any crystal, just be aware. Just, if you want, test the waters. But remember, it won't really, I won't say it won't, that's not the right word. It's about the intention that you set to work with the crystal. But having said that, crystals will also find you and do the work anyway, even though you may not have set the intent to that.
And I think before we get on to Eve's reading, I see you would like a reading. I too just want to say too, as Susie said, you guys can just go to a little shop and walk around and just, without, if you don't have them already, without having to buy them all, just feel and see what energies resonate. Some people, like Susie was talking about clear quartz, but I also love rose quartz and amethyst, and there's several other different kinds that are a little softer. I like to call them the mutts of crystal, because it's the same thing with dogs, right? You get a German Shepherd, a Doberman, or a Border Collie, you're going to have a very strong, specific personality that you're going to have to deal with that energy. With crystals, you don't have to deal with the energy. As Susie said, this is very hard to explain, but the more you guys work with it, the more you'll understand. It's going to kind of give and reflect what you need and what your intentions are. But by the mutts of crystals, I mean, it's kind of a little softer edge off of it. When you pick up a rose quartz, for example, it's still going to energize. It's still going to give energy. But it's sort of like a softer energy, sort of like you get, you go to the pound and you get a mixed breed. They're going to have a little bit different, softer energy that holds the qualities of several different types of dogs. So, just keep that in mind. And again, guys, this is all about you and your path, your experience. And so we can share our stories and guide our experience, give you readings on what we feel for you. But you get to take the steps and find your own way of testing this out, building your own relationships with animals or trees or crystals or fairies. And we encourage you to do that. If you're not supposed to be with that particular crystal, there really is no not supposed to be or supposed to be. But if it's not the right time and place for you to have that relationship with that crystal's either going to go away and disappear, or you're not going to be interested in it. You're not going to be, it's not like with people where you can be drawn to the relationship that's going to hurt you. Crystals are not like that. If you need a crystal, want to work with it, you will be drawn to it and it to you. If it's not the right time for you to work with, or that's not the crystal you need, you're not going to be interested in it. Okay, kind of the opposite of bad relationships, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, fabulous.
So wonderful.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
I'm just going to pop, before we go on to the readings, I'm
Yes.
just going to pop this one back up, if you don't mind, with Kim.
Sure.
So what would you suggest to increase the energy, get rid of fatigue, please? So again, this comes back to what I was saying earlier to Leona. We can look at that overall, when in reality, we need to dive a little deeper to find out what is causing this fatigue. What is it that's happening? When do you feel the most drained? From an energetic imbalance, my feelings around this are, when we are draining our energy for whatever reason that may be, it's potentially because we're not fully grounded in our own energy vibration. So my suggestion there would be to look at balancing the chakra energy, look at getting yourself grounded or earthed, however you refer to it. So if we're looking at our grounding energy, we're looking at keeping that in balance. Then we're looking at crystals such as tourmaline, labradorite. What's my agates can be quite good. Red agates. There's a crystal called Apache tears, and they come as a pair. No, not Apache tears, Bogie stones. They come as a pair, and they have a yin yang, male female energy. So one has like little nodules on it and one has a little mark on it, and you work with them together. Now they're very good at balancing the chi, the energy flow. So it might be worth looking for those. With Bogie stones, you will know they're authentic because they will have the markings on them. So be very aware that there are some alternatives out there that aren't the real deal, so to speak. But yeah, for me, so your fibromyalgia, again, it's interesting. I was talking about this with a friend a couple of days ago because she has exactly the same thing. It's, for me, when you're working with something like fibromyalgia and a lack of energy due to that, whilst crystals will help you with the emotional side and will help bring the emotional aspects of that back into balance, this is a bit more deeper than just using crystals to help you bring some energy back in. I know for a fact she struggles to sleep. So when she's not sleeping well, her energy's drained. So it's looking at your sleep patterns, looking at ways to help rebalance your sleep energy. on a practical note, there is an absolutely fantastic piece of kit out there in the world called an earthing blanket. And if you go to the Groundology website, I can't remember the gentleman's name now. It's completely gone from me, but it will come back, I'm sure. It's also on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
But he wrote a book on earthing, and it's on the website called Groundology. And I've actually got an earthing sheet, and I love it. It's great. So go and have a look at that. Look at those. Look at when your times of feeling really drained are the strongest, when it's happening the most. Look at what your emotions are like when that's happening as well. And then when you get to that, then you can look at finding things that can help rebalance the emotions and help bring the energy. But it's a holistic picture for what's draining your energy, Kim, not just one specific thing. So yeah, I would look at grounding your energy. Oh, right, okay. But tend to listen to podcasts as sleep is bad. Okay. Do you mean in bed? Or tend to... Right, okay. So you're using the earthing sheet. So that's one thing. But then let's look at something. Look, I just get a feeling and a sense, and I don't know if Larkin will agree with me on this one, that this is coming into dealing with the emotions. It's looking at when your fatigue is at its strongest and what emotions are going on for you at that time, and then working to balance those emotions with a variety of ways. And that can be with crystals, but I get a feeling this is something that perhaps where you could use herbal essences, flower remedies, other things to help rebalance that energy drain. What are your thoughts, Larkin?
I'm going to answer 3 comments here in one, and then I want to get deeper into Kim's. Eva, we did not forget about you. We'll get to you, okay? First of all, I want to quick toss this out there, and then I'm going to get back to you, Kim. Jenny Kaiser says, if her crystal breaks, what should I do with it? My answer is just love it.
Love it, love it, love it. Yes, absolutely.
It's fine. It's like you're taking a glass of water and you're pouring it in 3 different cups. It doesn't matter if it's in 1 cup or several. It's fine. It's not a problem. So again, don't believe hearsay if people are making things up about it. Just love it. With Kim, and Susie sort of touched on this some, and I love Jim's comment, so we'll get to that too. But here's the thing, Kim, and I want to also let you know, Kim, that this is, I'm not trying to market myself here. I want you guys to understand what we have. For $28 a month, you can subscribe to the Awakening Your Intuition group, okay, without having to actually go through the 12-week program. During this, we meet every week, and we will be answering questions like this, so that we can answer the live questions of you applying to your life. So as we move forward with that, Kim, and you're joining that, you will get to work on this work for your fibromyalgia and check in to see what things are working, what things are not working, because it's about applying this stuff to your everyday life. Okay. So secondly, that leads into saying, understand that handling, for lack of a better word, your fibromyalgia and creating a slow transformational healing process for it is a process. Okay. I want to say some things that some of you on this podcast may not like. One of the reasons Susie and I are doing this is because we found 2 extremes surrounding spiritual and metaphysical areas. And it was one of the first things that linked Susie and I to want to work together. One is those people who don't believe in anything. Maybe they're atheists. The spiritual stuff is woo-woo. They don't believe in energy. If they don't see it, they don't believe it and all that. Actually, those people are sometimes better off than the opposite extreme, because the energy is still there. The angels and spirit guides are still there. The signs are still happening, but they're grounded enough to focus on their decisions and their habits. Whereas the opposite end of that, which are really the majority of people that listen to us, oftentimes are looking for and seeking answers only in metaphysical and spiritual. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing, Kim. I just want to remind you all that for this brief period of time, you are eternal conscious energy, a soul in physical form. There really is no physical form, but we're experiencing it as physical form. One of the things that I have found in going through graduate school in psychology, doing counseling and therapy for years, then being a reader and doing this, and being a life coach for over 15 years, I have found that we all find ways we're always looking for answers, solutions to our problems, but we also have a tendency to avoid the aspects that we need to work on the most. And again, I'm not saying you're doing this, Kim. You're giving me a platform to share this. So what I find a lot of times in my psychic medium groups, not my coaching groups, but my psychic medium groups and pages, is that people are looking to crystals or angels or spirit guides or, chakra, whatever, in order to fix their physical problems. And what I want to remind you is, again, one of the reasons Susie and I are doing this, it is a balance. At some point, there's a mindset work that is at play in everything you do because you are human. I have found that those that have fibromyalgia somehow have stored some sort of mental, emotional, or physical trauma or stress and anxiety in their body, whether they are conscious of it and remember it or not. It's the mind and the body. If you don't believe me, check Dr. Joe Dispenza. I've been teaching his work for years. And it comes out in a lot of forms, such as like different forms of arthritis, fibromyalgia, a lot of joint or intestinal issues, or some other form of disease. So in balance, the crystals can help, the spirit work can help, the meditation can help, all of that. But a lot of what really will make an impact in drastic healing is some of our, in creating the not fun stuff, the down to earth habits, whether it be habits of thinking or feeling, or you might have to, at this point, Kim, and I know you are trying to do this, change some of our other physical habits as well. And sometimes it's the very things you think you can't do. So because all of these things affect our energy, so we can use external things or we can do chakra meditations, but we can't forget that the mindset choices we make and the habits and repetition, which make up our life, also affect our energy. And what I find is clients come in, they want a clearing or they want a chakra realignment or they want to work with crystals and angels, but then the very things they're doing in their life will kind of get them right back, their chakras or their energy and frequency back into the alignment that wasn't helpful. It's like going to the chiropractor because you're lifting weights wrong, or you're working on a farm like me and you're lifting buckets and tossing hay. And then, you can't move and you can't get out of bed and your hands are tingly like mine from moving hay and water buckets. And then you go to the chiropractor and they tell you, now don't do this and that for this many weeks. This is what we're fixing you, but you got to maintain it. And what do? I go right back to the barn and I do the same thing. So again, Kim, I'm not saying this is your fault in what you're doing. I think it's important you ask this question today because I think the whole audience needs to understand you can't just do the fun spiritual or metaphysical part without doing the practical down to earth habits and repetition, mind and body as well, because you are a physical being right now. Okay. So thank you, Kim, for allowing me to share that. And again, in the Awakening Intuition group, which if any of the rest of you want to join it, it's daily stuff, answering questions, learning to work on the metaphysical. We'll be talking with you guys about that stuff, working through this type of thing. It's not the same as the program, but it's there to support you in this journey. Okay. One other quick thing, and then I'll move on. And Eva, we did not forget about you. Let's see. Jim made another comment, I think, that I really liked. Yeah. this is another thing too. And the fibromyalgia guys, often I find these things also, they often affect people that are very empathic. So Jim said some people are empathic, picking up on people's energy of others. It's good when they learn how to protect their energy. So, and this is a bigger topic too, we can talk about on a whole different day. But, like Kim, you are empathic. So a lot of times empathic people will seek more spiritual and metaphysical help or assistance, because that's more of a right brain thing. And it fits with them better. But when you are empathic, a lot of times you are picking up and processing, mind and the body, other people's programs. And so, like for me, I don't really protect myself anymore. We've talked about that. I do it from the inside out. I don't really need that protection. But for most people, it is a good idea, especially if you're just starting out with the whole protection thing, or you haven't discovered your white light yet to radiate. And I think I know that Kim does this anyway, but it's just a good message for everyone. The very practical mindset version of that, which again is relevant, guys. I know we're here to talk about angels, but it's relevant. A lot of it is protecting yourself. A lot of times the leak is your own thoughts and assessment of what you're picking up on. So for example, if you're an empath and you're picking up on other people's energy and you don't even know it, and all of a sudden, let's say you're walking through the mall or you're walking through the store or you're in a restaurant or maybe you're at home and you get this awful feeling or you start worrying about something, sometimes what could trigger the worry is picking up on somebody else's program. So sometimes the protection mechanism is simply what I teach in the mindset coaching. Be aware of your thoughts. Decide, does this thought serve me or does it hurt me? And if it hurts you, then you have to learn this because it's habits and repetition to believe what our ego is telling us. But to simply be aware of those thoughts and be like, you know what? This thought isn't taking me in a direction that feels good. So I'm going to choose to focus on something else. And it takes practice and it's hard at first. That is one way of protecting yourself. So like Leona was talking about turning towards crystals for inner guidance and that. Leona, some of your work needs to be you focusing on your own thoughts, because the energy leak a lot of times, my friends, is your own thoughts. And that's how they can get in. That's like the Trojan horse. All right, Susie, back over to you, my friend.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. That's just exactly what I would have said. So, yeah, we
Awesome.
certainly,
Awesome.
and again, I think it comes back to, and it is a thought, isn't it? A belief system is a thought. We believe, story time. I was obviously taught when I first started on this journey that you needed to protect your energy, you needed to produce, put yourself in a big bubble, and gave me all the variety of tools to do that. But even when I was doing it, for me, it wasn't that it didn't feel right, it just didn't feel necessary. It was almost as if I intuitively knew that my energy was already protected, and I trusted that. But then because of this, what my mentors, guides, teachers were telling me, I'm like, maybe I'm doing it wrong, maybe something's not right. And for a while I struggled with the practices because they didn't appear to be working for me, even though that's what I was being taught to do, Archangel Michael's cloak, a ball of mirrors, all of this. And it wasn't until I was sat one evening on my own in my bedroom and I was just like, I felt, I guess, frustrated with it all. And then this voice just was like, well, why, you do it naturally. You protect yourself because you trust that you're protected. And that, for me, in that moment was like, oh, that was my, I guess, light bulb moment of releasing the frustration, the need to try so hard to make it work, to just trust that it was working and that I was protecting my energy, and that, because I even went into the opposite direction of thinking, well, if I'm not feeling other people's energies, perhaps I'm not empathic, perhaps I'm not in tune, perhaps I don't know what, maybe I'm heartless, maybe I'm soulless, and it was all these thoughts that went through. And this is how the mind works, isn't it? It starts to make things up for you. And I was suddenly becoming this soulless, heartless being, and I'm like, but I'm not like that. I care, and so I went through a whole gamut of emotional stuff just around the fact that what appeared to not be working was in fact because it didn't need to work, because it was already there, and I just had to trust it.
Welcome, Angelique.
I think sometimes it's like you have to throw everything out to allow your own intuition to come in, and just trust in what you know to be right for you.
I popped this up here. I wanted to just, and we're going to get to your reading, Eva. I'm glad you said this. You said, but it's hard to just turn it off, a thought or feeling. So yes, and you know what's telling you that is your ego. and this is why. So this is why in my mindset coaching program, clients usually work with me 1 to 3 years, because most people never get free of that belief, Eva. The truth is, it is easy. It's the easiest thing you could ever do, because that which you cannot turn off is that which came with you in temporary form as a human, your egoic self. Underneath that is the true consciousness and knowing, is the peace, is the joy, are the answers, is the abundance. It's like the huge mystery of life. And most people never take the time to work on themselves internally enough. And you don't understand it till you're going through a process. So I do understand what you're saying. Everyone has that. Every person, including myself at one point, had that perspective, because that is the egoic perspective. And this is how we get trapped in believing our thoughts. Okay, so I understand that at this point in time for you, it appears to be, and for 99% of people, it appears to be hard to just turn it off. And we're not asking you to. If you notice what I said when answering Kim's question, was I said it is habits and repetition. It's a process. It will not happen overnight. It happened for Eckhart Tolle overnight. That's very rare. It is a process that is more than worth it to be free in this world while consciously awake, or even partly consciously awake and aware of your thoughts. It dissipates so much of the struggle and the trauma and the drama and the because the belief that we can't just turn it off and not knowing how to turn it off is what causes our depression, anxiety, and all of that. But I'm not asking or expecting any of you to just turn it off. Okay, I've been coaching this for almost 20 years. It is a process, and that's why I'm very picky about who I select to work with, because I choose people that are really committed to that. But you guys can do it a little bit at a time on your own, and I gave you the first steps today. The first steps are just be aware of your thoughts and ask, are they hurting me or serving me? And then practice a teeny bit at a time, choosing a different focus or giving yourself a different phrase. And it's very difficult at first. It feels impossible. But as time goes by, it transforms your entire life. Okay. You're willing to learn. Wonderful. That's all we need to hear. Yeah.
Just want to say welcome to Angelique. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Thank you so much for being here. First time of visiting us, so welcome. And if you want to watch more of us, you can go onto our YouTube channel and see all our previous recordings.
Yes.
Yay!
And Angelique, letting go is actually the easiest thing, and we'll get into that sometime as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's why it's so hard, because it's too easy. And the mind makes things hard. The spirit makes things easy. So should we get into our readings?
Shall we?
I love this
Yeah.
conversation. I wish I could stay on for 3 hours.
I
But
know.
guys, if you join the Awakening Your Intuition group, or you're interested in mindset coaching or working with either of us, these are all things you'll get to work with more. Okay. Let's see. I love this. I'm willing to learn. That's all you guys need.
So I think the best thing for us to do, for everybody who's still here, if you'd like a card, just plop the word card in the comments so that we don't have to keep scrolling back through to see who's already asked for readings, because I know there's been 2 or 3 of you who've asked for readings, but your comments are now way up there in in the
start with Eva. It was the first one I saw on there, and I've been promising her, so I'm going to start with her.
Yeah. Okay. So who are we starting with? Eva?
Yeah, let's start with Eva, and then everybody after that, we'll just go in order.
Okay. Just pop Eva up on the, and then we'll come, I'll highlight the others while you're shuffling, and then we'll know where we're at, won't we? I'll put the little stars on. Eva's already up on the comment. Okay. And then we've got Vangelie, Kim, and Mel so far. Beautiful. Okay.
Fantastic. So I have the angel therapy cards today because I thought we were going to need therapy cards. So I guess that's a good one. Really cool, Eva. So in all the deck, I was shuffling through and I pulled up all the deck. There was one card that popped up and it was upside down. It was completely upside down. And I'm very picky about my cards. The card I actually pulled for you right now is Ascended Masters. I don't know if you can see that. It's absolutely gorgeous. And the image, if you look at the white light image, but you kind of reflect that as though it was your inner self, that's similar to the white light within me that I'm talking about, that each and every one of you has, that is the core of your eternal essence, this white light, which, you know, at some point, some of you have heard, some of you haven't. I'll share the story at some point of discovering that white light. But that's part of remembering who you are. But anyway, this is obviously just meant to demonstrate Ascended Masters, but you have this light similarly within you. It says powerful, loving, and wise spiritual teachers are watching over you and guiding you. So you know, you guys each have a spiritual team. You have your past loved ones. You have your spirit guides. You have your angels. You have ancestors. And ascended masters are, you know, like Buddha, Krishna, Jesus, those types of people. Many that, you know, that aren't popularized so much. But what this always indicates to me is, and I see a flood of past life energy coming through as well. And we often talk about past lives, but it's also future lives too, guys, because we are working outside of time and space. And so, Eva, what's very interesting is I'm looking now through my third eye. I'm not just looking at you, but what's interesting is you have, you know, all these different rings of circles of your spirit teams with you. And, you know, you have these ascended masters with you as well. And really, I don't always see ascended masters trying so hard to get through to people. And I find they're really trying to get through to you. Let's see. So this is actually very pertinent to this. I used to receive messages from spirit, but now I feel alone. They are silent. So we've hit this road before, haven't we, Susie? So here's the thing, Eva. When we feel paths of feeling alone, it's actually not a bad thing. It's actually part of awakening processes of our spiritual journey, because we actually learn a lot and have to look inward and remember who we are and dig deeper when we're feeling those feelings of aloneness. I want to first of all, hi Madison, welcome back. let's see. It looks like we have another spammer. Yay!
Yeah, I'm just doing the necessary, sending them away with love and forgiveness.
Love and light.
Yeah.
So Eva, you know, what's interesting is I want to share with you, first of all, you are not alone. And part of reconnecting on a new and greater level is in a way that eventually you will never feel alone. And I can tell you that's what this leads to, because I spent decades feeling alone. That almost that spiritual, you know, I felt the spiritual connection, but still just feeling alone. And with that comes a deeper connection actually to your spiritual path and your connection, because it forces you to go deeper. So part of that is trusting that you're not alone, even when you're feeling alone. Okay. It is the egoic mind that is looking for messages. I know, just bear with me here. Okay. I know how this feels when I say this. It is, but because the real spiritual messages that come through also need to start coming through you from the inside out. And you need to go to a whole new level of trusting yourself. And the ascended masters are here surrounding you, shedding this protective light on you, lifting your frequency up to help you reach this next level of awareness and awakening. It is not that your spirit teams and spirit messages are not there. It is not even like most people where you're just not hearing them. It is that you have to now they're raising the bar for you. You have to now raise your frequency by looking inward and trusting more in order to receive and feel that connection, because now it has to be on a new level. Okay. Number 2, do not get caught up. Welcome, Melissa. Do not get caught up on needing to receive messages. Be open. It's going to start coming in all new different ways. You have outgrown, they're telling me, the old ways of receiving messages. So surrender, be okay with feeling like you're not getting them. As Susie and I talked about a few weeks ago on a broadcast, we all go in and out of receiving messages. And depending on what's going on with our life, we won't always hear them as clearly or as loudly or get the messages. Sometimes when we think we need them the most is when we think they're not coming in, but they are coming in. You need to do your work, look inward, trust, and allow that frequency to raise, and you will begin to connect with them, not just receive messages, but connect with them on a whole new level. And you're going to be so happy and so excited because you've outgrown where you were, which is where you were receiving messages. It's like your flip phone being disconnected. It's not disconnected. You're not disconnected. You're always connected. But it's like, you're like, oh, wait, I can't hear on this anymore. And so you got to switch over to an iPhone. And that's what you're doing. Okay. Good, Eva. Susie, over to you.
Thank you. So the cards, I'm using the Tarot in Wonderland, the Tarot of Pooh, and the Importance of Being You are the 3 oracle decks that I'm using. So your Tarot in Wonderland card is the Emperor. The Importance of Being You is Compassion. And the Tarot of Pooh is the Fool. And on the Emperor, it's saying, I don't think, then you shouldn't talk. And I love these little phrases that are taken out of the books. And it's about authority, structure, control, and fatherhood, and compassion. And then the Fool says, once upon a time, a very long time ago now, about last Friday, Winnie the Pooh lived in a forest all by himself under the name of Sanders. And then it says, new beginnings, optimism, trust in life. And the sense that I'm getting from these cards for you, Eva, is that there's a gentleman around you who feels to be he either wants to control you or is trying to control a situation. There's something going on where there's this element of wanting to be in control, this need to be in control and taking over your life almost, it feels like. And it's about knowing that you have the power within you to know and trust what you know is right for you. And the energy I'm feeling around this is that you just need to, as I've been doing with our spammers, send this energy away with compassion, with love, with forgiveness. So there's something around whatever this situation is, whether they're telling you the truth or whether they're not telling you the truth. It's more about this need for them to control the situation rather than allow it just to be and allow you to be who you are. But all the time you're feeling frustrated is the words that I'm getting, this sense of this need to fight against it. It's just aggravating the situation. One of the things that energy, when we put energy, what energy we put out is the energy we draw to ourselves as well. So if we send out energy of anger and frustration, then that's what's going to come back in whatever the situation is that's going on. If we send out love, compassion, forgiveness, then that energy flows. Now, it's not about condoning what the situation is. You know, if this person isn't telling the truth, it's not about condoning the lie that they're telling. It's about forgiving them for that, because they don't know what they're doing. They also don't understand what it is that you are forgiving them for, because they may not see that they need forgiving. You also don't actually have to physically say to them, I forgive you. You're just sending out this energy. And when you send out this energy of love and forgiveness, then that energy reverberates around the person that's receiving it. And whilst they may not know what it is exactly, they're going to sense a change. And then that's going to just shift their vibration. And, you know, organically, they could move away from you. The situation will start to shift and change. You know, I love the Ho'oponopono. I've been working with it for years now. And one of the things that I really took on board when I was learning the practice was Dr. Hugh Len, who teaches it along with Joe Vitale, but it's Dr. Hugh Len who brought it to Joe Vitale. What he teaches it about, we go back to zero, what he calls zero. We go back to having no thought, which is what Larkin was talking about earlier. Having no thought. And when you have no thought, you go back to zero. You go back to what they call the whiteboard, and you are just energy. All the time you're thinking something, all the time you're asking something, you've stepped away from that energy and you're back into the dynamic of whatever's taking place. You're being drawn into that drama. But when you send out love and compassion, whilst you're not taking away a thought, you're still having that thought. You're having a thought of loving compassion, of forgiveness, and it's helping to change the vibrational energy of what's taking place. Because the other thing that he said, in any given situation that we are in, there is one what's the word I'm looking for? There is one defining factor. That's not the words I want to use, but that's what's coming to mind. There's one defining contributing factor within that situation, and it's you. Where if you look at any situation, be it an argument with your best friend, be it a discussion with a family member, be it a discussion with a shop assistant, who is the common denominating factor? That's the phrase I'm looking for. You are. And it was something that I really, when I understood that, when I got to realize that in any given situation, I am the common denominating factor, that really shifted for me. Now, it may not make sense to you in this moment. You may have to go away and just subconsciously absorb that and just be aware. But just be aware that whether in any given situation, if you're the common denominating factor, be the one that sends out love and forgiveness. Be the one that offers the compassion, even if it's just a thought. And just really say, just look at the situation and say, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Because by saying please forgive me, you're acknowledging you're the common denominating factor. It's not that you're right, wrong, or doing anything right or wrong. You are just there in that situation, in that moment, and you shift and change that. So by doing so, when you get to that point of shifting this energy, of changing this with the compassion card, you become the fool. And the Fool in the tarot isn't about somebody who's being daft or stupid or idiotic. It's about somebody who is a complete blank slate. You've gone back to zero, as Dr. Hugh Len would say. You've gone back to that space of nothingness. You've gone back to that energy of where literally you can start again. You can write your journey in whatever way you want it to. So you can choose to continue to be in this dynamic. You can choose to be in this energy and not forgive and not move on and not accept that what's taking place is going to change. Or you can go, actually, I don't need to be specific. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And now my energy is shifting and I can start again. So thank you very much, Eva. I hope that's helped for you.
That's so powerful. And I just want to say, I love how Susie was, reiterated the going back to zero. Because when you guys hear me talk about meditation and how it's truly going back to being conscious without thought, one of the things that you always hear me iterating, whether it's mindset work or meditation or this type of work connecting with spirit. Excuse me. No barking. We're trying to help reveal to you guys, to have you reveal to yourself that there is existence beyond thought. And so everything you guys share and ask us about and have problems with and all that, that's all thought. Every bit of it is thought. So whether you're using the meditations that Susie's sharing with you there, which is a wonderful tool, or whatever type of meditation you're using, when you hear me talk about, being conscious of your thinking, so you can be aware that you are the thinker, you are not the thought. It takes people decades sometimes to really, you hear what I'm saying right now, but you're probably not getting it. At some point, if you keep at this, you will get it. Okay. And the ascended masters are all about that. All of the ascended masters they became awake and conscious while in human form. They overcame their thoughts so that their consciousness was the one in charge of the thoughts, not their ego. Okay. So Susie just gave you a really powerful tool there, Eva. Thank you for your wonderful.
Yeah. So Angelique is our next.
Yes. Wonderful
request.
Oh, wow. So the card I got for you, Angelique, is visualize success. I love this. This is so powerful. We are born with a power to visualize. Okay. If I've changed my clothes, guys, I'm getting ready to go to the barn. So I've got barn clothes on. That's why all of a sudden I look different. Visualize success. It says, see yourself doing well in this situation. I will say situations, and have faith in a positive outcome, in positive outcomes. Now, this is also hard to do because it's a form of taking charge of the mind and your thoughts. What do we mean by success? That is for you to determine. What is meant by success for you to determine. Okay. Particular. What I'm being asked to share with you here is in anything that you are currently working on, to make sure that the gap between where you are and where you want to be is not too wide. Okay. And what they're showing me is that the expectations that you have for things are more than possible. But to visualize and understand that it is a process, and that what you're aiming for, although the gap is like this big, so understand things are a process, and allow yourself to focus on little increments and visualize success and progress in little increments, whereby you can receive positive validation and feel success and see steps moving forward. Because when your gap is too large, what they're showing me is that you're going to feel hopeless isn't the word I'm looking for. I'm trying to hear the word they're using for me is sort of like not frustrated, but you're going to feel sort of frustrated because you're going to feel as though progress isn't being made, and understand the progress is being made one step at a time. So we could implement patience and awareness here of a process, and that you'll actually make faster progress and transformations in your life and in situations if you are visualizing success, in not just visualizing success, but in bite-sized pieces. Okay, you have this big energy about you that can just, okay, that's it, I'm going for it, I'm going to take it all on, and be patient in the fact that it will happen in little increments. Okay, Susie?
Well, I think we've done it again. We're so in tune. So as you were reading, obviously I was drawing cards. The first card that came out from the importance of being you, fire. It's the fire angel that I drew. Out of Tarot in Wonderland, you have temperance. And you'll see why I'm smiling in a minute when I read the card. And out of Tarot of Pooh, you have the star. The minute this card literally jumped out of the pack, Vanjali, it was like, I'm here, I'm present, I'm ready, and I've got this real sense of fire in my belly. I really am wanting to, it's almost like I want to steam forward and just get there. But to get there, you have the temperance card. And on the temperance card, it says, if you don't know where you're going, any road can take you there. And it's the middle path, it's patience, and it's finding meaning. And as Larkin was talking about, you walking this path and being, you know, the gap not being so wide and all of that. And then she mentioned patience as well. I was just smiling because I love how spirit and the universe and the angels work to bring the right messages for you. Because you do need to look at that middle path at the moment. Yes, you've got the fire in the belly, you've got the knowledge, you've got the know-how, you've got the desire, this deep desire to really get it going. But at the moment, you just need to walk that middle path. You need to look almost in both directions is what I'm feeling. You need to be aware of the synchronicities that are taking place to bring you into this journey, to bring you on this path, to show you the direction. But you also need to look at the other one. So I get a sense of, if this is a business decision, it's about intuitively seeing where you're being guided to go, but also picking up the need for the business knowledge and information to find the meaning in it, to really get to hone in onto what it is that you want to do. And then with the star card, it's all going to work out. But the important word here is patience. You know, keep that fire in the belly, keep that there for the strength and the power and the desire of what it is that you want to achieve, but be patient with it as well, you know. And because I also feel that when you get this woof of energy and power, it's like all guns blazing and I want to run off, you know. And one of the things we learn in this journey is patience. You know, I was somebody very much 20 odd years ago who wanted everything yesterday. And now, you know, I can almost sit in the energy of mañana. It will come, because it will come. It's just about having that, walking that middle path for now and having that patience. So thank you very much, Angelique. And then we have Kim, I believe, is next for us.
Excellent. You can go first with that, Susie, because I'm running downstairs to get in the car, but I'm sticking on with you guys.
Okay. Right, I'll just shuffle.
Oh, I love that Kim is on here because she's got so much energy and desire to learn, and her abilities just completely oozing out of her. And
beautiful.
I love it. I love it. It's always a joy to have your energy on with us, Kim. I'm so excited to have you in the Awakening Your Intuition group. It's going to be an amazing year for you. I love this.
Well, it's interesting that you said that, because the first card out of the importance of being you is the rainbow card. And with that, for me, the rainbow is just about, it's all about love, joy, abundance, and lots of great things are going to happen and come to you. For me, the rainbow card just incorporates all the beautiful energy of the chakras, all the beautiful energy of the universe, and it just brings everything in together. Once upon a time, you always perceived a rainbow as being somebody who chased that pot of gold and never achieved it. For me, it's completely the opposite. When you get a rainbow, it's all about the universe, spirit, the angels showing you that you're on the right path, you're taking the right steps, and that everything is going to come to you. But it's also got to be cohesive. It's got to be in the right, whilst there's no time in linear time, we have linear time. And it's all about taking the steps in the right order that you need to take them. So if you're joining us in this lovely work for the next year or so, then fantastic. You're going to find all those right steps. You also have the Empress, and it says, "And what is the use of a book, thought Alice, without pictures or conversation?" I love to read these little bits because they're just quotes from the book, and they are just great. And it's motherhood, fertility, and nature. The rainbow is one of nature's beautiful things that brings us love, joy, and abundance into our life. It's about, some people perceive the rainbow as being good luck, good fortune as well, and you've got fertility and nature. So I do feel that nature is a huge connection for you. It's a huge part of your energy and working with nature as well. So there's something around you working with nature coming up, not just as in working with nature to help you yourself with your energy, but also a connection to nature now, whether that's something to do with volunteer work, but there's something around nature that's coming in. And it will be, it might only be a short-term thing, but it will be beneficial, because by doing so, you will be giving, and what you put out, you receive. But also there's fertility for you. So there's new ideas coming in. There's lots of new things to take place for you. You have the Justice, and it says, "Oh, Bear," said Christopher Robin, "how do I love you?" "So do I," said Pooh. And it's about fairness, equality, and balance. And again, I feel this is linked to you and your internal energy, your internal dynamics. This isn't about what's going on in the external world. This feels very much about you seeing yourself in a light of equality and balance. So I don't know if there's a situation around you or something that's been said around or to you where you felt like you've been made to feel a little bit lesser than you are. And I want you to say that's so not true. We all are exactly the same. We are all connected. We all come from the same energy. There's no need for there to be any imbalance between us. I don't look up to anybody on pedestals. Never have done, even when I was younger. I just never did that hero worship stuff. And now I understand why, because I knew even then that we're all equal. And I feel for you, there's something there as well. But also with the Justice card, I want to look at something in the practical situation as well, where you need to just look and make sure that justice is done, that there's something takes place, that it's fair, and you just get the right outcome through doing that. But certainly with the rainbow card, lots of great fun, lots of joyous abundance to come for you. So thank you, Kim. And
all right, I'm running around. Sorry. So
okay.
Wonderful. I pulled the solar plexus card for Kim, which I think is very fitting and powerful, because there are so many different levels at which the things that you are trying to, find answers for, or heal, seek, transform, and learn have so many fundamentals to them. And I think one of the things that's going to happen this year is that you're going to be you're going to be filling that in. You're going to be creating that basis that is really important. And the solar plexus card says it's safe for you to be powerful and take charge of your life in positive ways. And I believe this is something that you know, and you may even believe cognitively, but it's something that also needs to be believed on a deep emotional level. And so this solar plexus card is really cool because Susie and I have been talking about, the different levels in which, for everyone here, in which we need to be working on, right? So we've talked about working with crystals and angels and spirit guides and all that. But then we talked about some of the really practical things, the making choices, the decision making, the awareness, the physical aspects to things. And the solar plexus card is really cool. I'm going to quick show you this. I've got my camera off for a few minutes until I get in the car. I'm going to quick show you this. The solar plexus card is really, really cool because it really goes back to so much of the basics of what we need to do. And where a lot of your energy power is stored is actually in the solar plexus. So, remember that obstacles are opportunities. So whether it be fibromyalgia or relationship issues, whatever we're having in our life is giving us exactly what we need to grow and become what we need to in order to fulfill the visions that we want. And this is sometimes really hard to remember, but it's very powerful. So just keep in mind that as we work on this, and or if you're working on chakra work, the solar plexus is where you need to be focusing right now, because that is going to be a basis that connects the physical and the energetic aspects of yourself for the visions that you have and the things that you're actually seeking, right? So just remember that the chakras are connecting that energetic and that physical aspect, because you are all of those things right now. And that's where you need to be focused. So I'm super excited about that. I think it fits in beautifully with the work that will be, coming forth for you, that Susie was reading about, or sharing about, rather.
Beautiful. Thank you. So we have.
Who do we have next?
We have Mel next. Mel Wellens. So I have drawn, interestingly, I did shuffle these cards, I promise you, from the importance of being you, the fire card again. The Tarot in Wonderland, you have the Tower. And from Tarot of Pooh, you have the Justice card again. And a whole completely different meaning. As I'm sensing with the fire card here, Mel, there's very much a situation around you where something is needing to change, and it feels like it needs to be. With the Tower, it's about a sudden upheaval. It's a broken, disaster, as the card has seen. For me, the Tower is also a bit like the Fool card. It's about new beginnings. So when you have to release and let go of something, there's something that needs, with the fire destroys, but fire also brings rebirth, because out of the fire, the phoenix grows. So both of these cards very much to me are feeling like there's a situation around you at the moment that needs to be let go of. You need to allow it to just dissolve. I don't want to say it's going to suddenly just crumble away and disappear, but there's something, it just needs to dissolve. It almost feels like it's organic. It needs to just be let go of, released, and have its own way of flowing away from you. Because all the time you're hanging on to it, and I'm going back into the mind now. So you're rethinking this, you're putting your thoughts out there. There's something that you keep thinking about it, and it's almost like, oh, I wonder if I did this, or if I wonder if I did that, if that happened, and maybe if I let that. you know, and there's this push me, pull me energy. I call it the llama energy, you know, the Dr. Dolittle push me, pull me llama. You know, it's like, it's almost, it's not about being indecisive. It's more about, you know, the decision you need to make, but there's just something where you just keep going round and thinking, well, if I just did it that way, or if I just did that. Whereas no, it's a time now to let that go, to release it. Your inner heart, your inner knowing, your your intuition, there's this sense of, it resonates that, you know, it needs to be released, but just allow it to dissolve organically. You don't have to do anything constructive to destroy it, you know, but there's something there that really needs to just be let go of, and just allow it to crumble. Because with the Justice card, then will come the fairness, then will come the equality, and then will come the balance, and everything will rebirth and regrow. Because I do feel with the Fire card as well, you've got the phoenix from the ashes coming out of here. So there's something that's going to be rebirthed. You know, it might well be that whatever this is you're letting go of and releasing, it gives birth to a new idea. It still has the same or similar foundation, but it has a completely different structure. You just rebuild it from the ground up, and it really starts afresh, and you can really just move forward with it. Because now, as I'm saying that, I'm really starting to get a feel of as I did with, I think it was Eva when I read for her, or I can't remember now, whoever it was had the Fire card. It's about this fire. It's not so much a fire in my belly at the moment. It's more just a sense of, oh, if I do that, oh, a little bit of excitement. You know, the butterflies are starting to flutter, and it's like, oh, yeah, that feels really good. So I hope that's helped for you, and thank you so much.
Wonderful. So I haven't pulled a card yet. I'm just getting ready to hop in the car. But
do you know, angels when we gave it this title, Angels in Action, I don't think we actually genuinely realized that there would be moments when action would be happening.
Well, I think we're going to have to move it up an hour, because I'm supposed to be at the barn by 2 o'clock.
I know. Yes, I do realize.
So I think that's what happens, but I didn't want to leave you guys because we get the energy started here.
I know, but it's just brilliant, isn't it? But it's perfect. It's just as it is, and it just shows that we can be angels in action as well as sitting here on our tushes.
That's right. So I think, you know, Mel, there really is this phoenix, this rebirth energy coming up, and
oh, you're fading out a bit, Larkin. Sorry.
The card I had popped up for you next. Can you hear me?
You can now. Yeah.
Can you hear me at all?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. The card that had popped up for you was the rebirth card. And that's in the car, so I will pull it up as soon as I get back in there. But this rebirth card is what popped up for you. And, you know, it's again, remembering that obstacles are opportunities, and that the rebirth card indicates, you know, really getting through these obstacles. And remember, part of the reason that you're here in this world, all of you, is you're here to learn and grow. And you know, how can you, when you guys pray for something, and this is coming through with and for you, Mel, but it's valuable to everyone. Think about it. When you pray for something, if you watch the movie God with Morgan Freeman, I posted on my psychic medium page one of the best scenes in that movie. And you know, you can get on there and watch it, but essentially it's like when you ask for something, you normally expect it to come in a certain way. You expect it to come in the way that you want it to come. And what happens is God, source, spirit, energy, you know, why is it that you're praying to them? Why is it that you're talking to God, source, spirit in the first place? Because you view the universe, you view God, you view your angels and spirit guides as those that know more than you, right? As those that are more powerful than you, as those that have insight that you don't have. So if that is truly what you believe, then mustn't you also trust that it's going to come through to you in ways that you are unaware of? Isn't that the whole point? And so as we go through learning lessons, understand that it is all about you. It's all to shape you. It's all to mold and sculpt you into being, that person, that new version of you. In the manifesting world, we say you must become that which you want to attract. Well, this is exactly what's happening. This is what it's about. You must become that which you are, a matching a frequency of that which you desire, right? So think about it. If you are wanting change and you're wanting to move forward and you have a vision of what you want, then isn't it also possible that you first have to go through this phoenix process, that you first have to go through these challenges and these difficult times? And this is what this card is saying. This is what the messages are saying to me, and I believe to Susie as well, is that you need to go through this process. So what is the best thing to do then? I'm asking Spirit, how do I share this with you then? The best thing to understand then is that you must, instead of resisting and embracing the things that appear to you to be getting in the way of where you want to go and what you want to transform, you need to instead embrace those things that you believe are blocks, that you believe are difficulties, that you believe are getting in the way of what you want and need, and understand that those things that you think are your obstacles are actually the very things that are there. This is really, really important. And once you get past this, I'm saying that once you get past this point of that, then you're going to reach a new level of liberation and empowerment, because you're going to have a whole new sense of awareness and self-confidence. And, it's really just that belief that's in the way. And so here's one thing I want to share with you. Here we go. This is going to be interesting, guys, because I'm in the car. So let's see how this works, right? Clear, cancel, and delete. So clear, cancel, and delete beliefs, past experiences that you're hanging on to. It was so interesting that, Susie was again getting this theme of starting over, starting fresh, clearing things. And so Spirit simplifies, ego complicates, right? So you need to cancel, clear, and delete. Okay. And that means give yourself a fresh slate. Start afresh, start anew every day, right? And give yourself that permission. It seems really hard right now, but on the other side of this, those very beings and energies that you pray to and you ask for guidance for, we usually don't listen to. And this is what they're saying. Okay, so you can do this. Just know that on the other side of your comfort zone is what your heart is really seeking. Okay, thank you.
Hey, beautiful. And you always manage to look gorgeous wherever you are.
Thank you. So, I wish I had your perspective, but I appreciate that.
We have the lovely Melissa next, and she says, dealing with a family situation while trying to clear up everything for my dad's estate. I'd love guidance. And I have drawn from The Importance of Being You, my beautiful crystal card, which has literally images of all my own personal crystals on it. So I love that card. for a personal reason. From the Tarot of Wonderland, we have strength. And from the Tarot of Pooh, we have the Magician. And as I was tuning in and sensing into these energies with the question in mind, my feeling for you around these cards, this is all for you personally. This is really about you now looking after yourself. With the crystal card, the rose quartz jumped out at me instantly. It was the rose quartz heart that I was given when I was dealing with my grief and having to deal with all the material aspects of what that involves. So I really feel that what the message that's coming in here for you at the moment with these cards is it's about nurturing yourself. It's about really looking out for you at the moment. You know, the strength card is coming in. It's saying inner strength, bravery, compassion and focus. And I feel that the focus needs to be on yourself, Melissa, not on everybody else. You know, sadly, when we lose a loved one, then when the material side of that loved one's lost has to be dealt with, it brings drama, it brings traumas, it brings differences of opinions and beliefs. And I can appreciate how challenging that can be to deal with. You know, the word that's coming through for me is acceptance. And I have a really, I love when spirit give me a sense of an image. I don't see the image as such, but I just get a sense of an image that they're giving me. I see a gentleman with a pitchfork in his hand. Now, whether this gentleman worked the land or whether this is symbolic, I am not quite clear yet, because he's got a big grin on his face and this pitchfork in his hand. And it's just a feeling like I'm holding this pit. So for me, the pitchfork is a bit like strength. I'm also hearing the word June and September. So this could be a name and a month, or both months. So I don't know if those are significant for you. But yeah, this gentleman with this pitchfork is really showing me, I get a feeling that it's about standing your ground. You know, it's really standing strong and holding on to your truth, holding on to your inner strength with the strength card here. But do it with compassion as well. Look at others through the eyes of compassion, not through the eyes of frustration. And with the Magician, it's saying action, and you have the power to manifest. And this comes around again full circle with when we think about our thoughts and what we're putting out there, the energy that we're putting out there. And I do feel that you want to manifest almost this sense of peace, tranquility, harmony. You want everything to be balanced. You want everything to flow nicely and smoothly. But you're also putting out these thoughts of frustration as well. So I do feel if you can do as let's use Ho'oponopono again. I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. Bring your energy back to zero and really just put this energy of compassion out there. See the family members through the eyes of compassion, and just know that by doing so, you're going to shift that energy vibration for yourself. But with a practical tool in mind, I'm back to the crystal card. I'm back to some rose quartz. Let's just use some rose quartz to help you ease that sense of loss, that pain, that grief that you're feeling as well, and sending you lots of love. Over to you, Larkin.
Wonderful. Wow. Yeah, it's so true. Melissa, every time your dad comes through, I just love him. He has such a wonderful energy, and yeah, he and your stepmom, such a strong connection. Still just such a strong soul connection. Very genuine. And he's there supporting both of you. The card I want to share with you for this situation today is cut cords. Now, this can mean a couple of different things. It doesn't have to mean that. In your case, I'm looking at it very much this way. A lot of people see this card and they think, well, it means you have to cut someone off, or you have to cut off a relationship, or whatever, cut ties and go separate ways. It doesn't just mean that. Cut cords a lot of times are just like your cords, right? You got so many cords in situations and past events and with family and friends and people you have relations.
You're freezing up, Larkin. So I'm assuming your signals.
It's there we go. Yay! I'm using my phone Wi-Fi right now. We're driving up a hill, but in this case, I'm repeating myself so you didn't miss anything. But it means to cut maybe the ways that you had interaction and your old perceptions, your aspects of older forms of relationships with the situation and everyone involved. And so again, with relationships being altered, okay? And it may not appear to be for the better, but it will be for the better. When situations like this occur, what's really happening is it's revealing the truths that were underlying the surface before. In the spirit world, in non-physical, truth just is. It always comes out. There is no ego, so there is no lie, there is no fake, there is no pretend. In the physical world here, the same thing happens because the physical world, it is like a replication of the spirit world. So what happens is, since we're only getting a partial realization here of the spirit world, is the truth also eventually comes out. It's just that it will take longer and it will take painful processes. So one of the actual causes of you having to go through the estate situation is these inauthenticities amongst the other parties, and that naturally arose then within these relationships. So in the end, things are going to work out for the better because truths will be revealed and weights will be lifted. But in the meantime, in that process, you need to cut the cords. And it may not be that you walk up to somebody and you say, okay, that's it, I've had it with you. It's simply that internally you may release an expectation you have of someone, or you may have to let go of an old idea you had of someone, or an old belief that they would do the right thing of someone. Okay, this is within you, in your aspects of the relationships. You're going to have to cut the cords, and you will intuitively know what those are. Okay, so truth might not come out in the eventual rulings of something, but they do come out. And it is your job and your stepmom's job to be as authentic as you can and have as much faith in the process. And remember, it's a process, and allow it to play out. Okay. But do the cutting cords work. That will help release a lot of the energy that will allow things to pan out more smoothly and quickly. Okay. Thank you.
Lovely. So our next lovely lady is Madison Lynn. And she says, I would love a reading, please. I was actually wondering if maybe my loved ones may have had a message for me. I don't usually get my hopes up when I ask for this, only because I never get opportunities to actually hear from them besides twice. So I was just wondering if that were possible. If not, that's okay. I just really, really love and appreciate it. Thank you so much. Well, thank you, Madison, for being here. We love and appreciate you too. Because without you lovely ladies and gentlemen, so I don't know if Jim's still watching, we wouldn't be doing this. So we have
while we're shuffling, I do just want to mention, Madison, again, one of Susie's and my focuses is that you guys understand that, and while it is fun and special to get readings, and we love doing them, I could do this all day long. Understand that your loved ones are always trying to come through to you. And so whether they come through on a reading or not, when you are going somewhere asking for a reading, I know it's more fun to hear them come through and get validation from others. But just understand that they're always there with you. And the more you talk to them and believe that, and they already are connecting with you. It's up to you to relearn, because your relationships have not ended, they have just transformed. So you have to relearn how to connect with them in an entirely new way. Okay. And they have to learn with you as well. They know, but it's easier for them because they have more know-how than you do right now, more awareness, right? But just please know that they are there, just so that there's not so much weight bearing on you for when you get on to have a reading, to believe if they're coming through or not. They're always there. But their first message to people is always just to let them know that they're there. So please know that, like, if you're going from reader to reader and they've only come through to you a couple times, it doesn't mean they're not there. It means that they're going to step back and let other souls step forward because they've already come through to you. And their first thing is just to say, hey, we're here. Okay. And so a lot of times when people think that they're not coming through or they're not getting readings, it's not that they're not, it's just that there's so many souls trying to just let other people know, hey, we're just there, we're here. The next step is usually to teach you. They want to show you how you can connect with them. Okay. Those are the most important messages. So just be reassured with that. And that may be why every time you get on, you might not hear from them. And that's why. Okay. But they are there trying.
Beautiful.
Go ahead.
Which is perfectly matches the first card that came out from the importance of being you, messages. And then we have death from Tarot in Wonderland and the Emperor. And the Emperor card says structure, stability, rules, and power. And I do want to say that these cards feel to me more like they are spirit rather than the actual cards themselves having a meaning, because as I sense into the Emperor card, I feel a gentleman in spirit who would have been very much about structure, would have been very much about stability. He would have been, it's almost like he feels like he would have been your rock. He would have been the person that you turn to on a regular basis for help, guidance, and advice. And this feeling is that, as Larkin was saying, they are always around you. The fact that the messages card has come out to me indicates that they are bringing messages to you, but in different ways. So just being aware of a song on the radio that you hear that reminds you of them, a book that you might read, a magazine article, somebody just happened to talk about them, out of the blue, suddenly bringing them up in conversation. All of these are the little nudges that Spirit will give us to show us that they are still around, because they don't just use people like myself and Larkin to bring the messages through. As Larkin was saying, they want you to be able to sense them for yourself. And sometimes you just know, I can be sat and all of a sudden I'll just know that Bob's around me, my husband who passed away, and that's it. That's all it is. I just have that knowing, and then it's gone. And I'm like, thank you, because we don't always have to have a conversation with them to just know that they're with us. With the death card, this is about ends of cycles. It's saying end of cycle, beginnings, change, and metamorphosis. So I do feel for you, there is a lot of change coming in around for you at the moment. I feel that there's things that you need to just take a breath, take a step back from, and just really allow things to move in their own way. It's almost like you're clinging on to the past, to things that have gone, and you can't change them, you can't bring them back. So it's just releasing and letting go. When you release and let go, it's not about forgetting that it ever happened. It will always be there as a memory, but it needs to be a memory now, not something that you are trying to physically hold on to and keep going. So just allow that as well, because by doing so, once you do that, the new beginnings, the new starts, the changes that are going to come in for you can start to really take, can start to happen. As we look at the metamorphosis world, it feels to me at the moment that you're a bit like, the caterpillar in the chrysalis that's just waiting to blossom into the butterfly. So there's things that you can do that now you will change things for you, but allowing yourself to trust and know that your family, your loved ones in spirit are around you, and that they are there dropping little moments of messages in for you, even if it's not through somebody like myself and Larkin, that you are getting them and they are there. Because when you do that, then you can start to move forward. And the feeling is they really want you to move forward now. As I say that, this gentleman's showing me a wheelbarrow, and he's pushing this wheelbarrow, and it's just like, let's just move forward. Let's just plow the way open for you. I just get a sense that they've shown you some things. You've had some ideas, some inspirational thoughts that are coming in, but you're just clinging on to the what ifs instead of the what you can do. So thank you. Oh, as you've lost your volume, Larkin, you're on mute.
Yes, I know I'm on mute because I'm talking to myself, and I didn't want to bring that
well, I could see your lips moving, so I didn't know.
Yeah, no, I was doing it intentionally. I was keeping myself on mute. We cut off and on. So who are we reading for?
Madison.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I took
that
the picture down because it was blocking.
I couldn't find it again, and I thought maybe I'm going nuts.
No. Okay. I took it off so I could show the cards.
Okay, thank you. No, that's fine. We can take it off. I'm gonna put. Let's see. How do we take it off all together?
All right. We must both be doing it at the same time.
Nope, I'm not touching it. I don't know how to take it off all together. There we go. Okay. All right. Just so I can see you guys and we can show cards. So first of all, there is a masculine energy figure moving forward, a deep sense of strong love there and guardianship. And I'm going to sort of mix this up with the cards that I pulled out. First of all, I got a card that you have asked your angels for help with this. And the next level of this, Madison, is you being able to make the connection, because you want the connection so much that you're actually dispersing your energy outward, trying to get the validation from the outside. You really need some proof and validation for yourself from the inside. It says your angels want to help you with this situation. However, they require your permission before they can interfere with your free will choices. This is very, very true. Angels, spirit guides, loved ones can't do anything without free will. Also, you want to, when we miss loved ones so much and we have a longing for them, it has a tendency to distance us from being able to connect with them. It will even distance when we go to get a reading if our vibration is surrounding us in that way. So as Susie was receiving, it's time for you to move on. Part of that means is it's time for you to learn to rebuild that new connection in a new way and move on emotionally to the next aspect of this, okay? Because outside of time and space, you're only going to be away from them a split second, okay? So for you, it might seem like a long time, but for your loved ones, they're going to be back with them in a heartbeat, okay? I do get the presence and energy strongly of a fatherly type figure. So I don't know if this was a grandfather or a father, but his energy is moving in as a nice, stable, steady, loving, protective energy. And a very comforting energy that is moving forward and is moving forward as more of a spokesperson. And I'm also getting, I actually pulled 3 cards for you. I'm also got the parent and the mediumship card. Okay, so the parents card, I'm going to read this one to you, this parental energy. And this can refer to being in this world or having crossed over. There's definitely an energy here, a soul connection, parental soul connection. And it says the divine truth is that your parents eternally love you to the best of their ability. The angels are helping you to heal from pain associated with mother and father. This energy is coming in very strong, and it actually popped out 3 times at me while we were doing other readings. And it was not for, I had a side conversation with spirit. It was not for these other people we were reading for today. It popped back out for you because I asked them specifically, bring it back to me if this card is for you. So this does not have to mean that there was negative experiences with the parents. It just simply means that the healing can come in many forms, and there's definitely a very strong soul connection between you and your parents, and you guys came together in life purpose intentionally as souls, and that's there. And a lot of times that is accompanied with either struggles you went through together, struggles you watched them or witnessed them come through, that you had pain associated with wanting to help them, and or experienced mental, emotional, or physical pain yourself. Okay. So this is very powerful that energy is there. And then the other one is the mediumship card. And what this tells me, since you've got the give angels permission and you got the mediumship card, is they're really redirecting you to find ways in which you can connect, because it seems as though you really have this desire to maintain this energy, experience the energy of your loved ones here in your everyday life. And in order to do that, you actually have to pick up that torch and start to carry it. Okay. I'm asking in what ways, what are some of your strongest clairs, first of all, is the feeling. You have the feeling. So the clairsentience, where you really are, you will feel things first. You might feel an energy and a presence. You might feel a vibration or a frequency. You might feel an emotion. That's another way in which we sense them. You might even feel your loved ones first and then have a thought associated with it. And so they're showing you to work on the feeling aspect. You also have some clairaudience going on, and this means you can hear. So, you might have trouble discerning between whether it's your thoughts or whether it's them. But you're actually like hearing them. It's not just that you're seeing thoughts, you can actually hear them. So the big message here that's coming through is don't try so hard. Okay. Don't try so hard. So they're showing me a couple different, objects and things coming through. And you can share with me if any of these you want to take further, if they relate to you more. I'm seeing like a flat square box. It's not too thick. They're showing me this. I'm seeing what look like yellow and purple flowers. The number 5 is coming through very strong. And I'm having side conversations to ask them to define more of that. Hi, Leona, I see you. I'm also seeing the month of May. So I was asking if the 5 was associated to the month of May, and they're saying no. So the month of May could be an indication of there's a birthday or celebration of either a passing or a birthday, or something significant with the passing of a loved one that's coming up. The number 5, I'm asking for them to share with me what the number 5 is indicating. So it looks as though So you're going to, each time you have a reading and you connect with the energies on the other side, you have a stronger connection. But it looks as though in about the next 5 months or so, is what I'm seeing, that you're going to be making some more peace with those that have crossed over. And you're going to make some progress with being able to make your own connections with them as well. I'm also seeing that there was one of the feelings that one of the needs that you have to make this connection is in the passing of one of these loved ones. There's a strong sense, this gentleman is sharing with me, that you felt as though you did not get closure. I don't even know if she's still on here. I don't see her on here at all. I don't see Madison on here. It might just be my reception. But I'm going to finish this anyway in case she's not. She can come back.
Yeah.
There's a sense of lack of closure here. And the lack of closure is something that is more of an egoic thing. It's a need of those that remain here, because those who have crossed over, they have their peace because they have greater sense to understand everything that happened. They understand that the passings all happened in perfect timing. And this gentleman figure here that is standing here is like, there's nothing, everything that needed to be healed can be healed as it is now, just in a different way. Okay. There was nothing else that on their end that you needed to say in order to receive closure. You need to find the peace and closure on your own that he's saying you're going to find by learning to make your own connection with them. Okay. When you have some validation for the ongoing energy of consciousness, as time goes by, you will find the closure that you need. Okay. Because a lot of the closure that they're showing me you needed was actually not something that could have been done here in this life before the passing. Okay, it was actually something that you were going to continue to work on. Okay, and that's an internal thing, and they want you to work on that. Okay, and this is where the mediumship and where the asking your angels for help, I understand now, has a bigger meaning, that card for you. The asking angels for help and giving them permission to help you with this is going to really help you. All right. I hope that helped.
Thank you. I am going to have to say I need to leave. I've been on
me as well. So I'm an hour late for the barn. So
3.25 hours. So for the lovely ladies who we haven't got to read for, my deepest and sincerest apologies, but come back and see us next week. And if we're drawn to you, we'll read for you next week. But yes, I really need to go and get something to eat.
Me as well. And I want to just let you all know that if you want a more in-depth, more private reading, Susie and I on Saturday, the 25th.
No, Sunday.
Oh, Sunday. Okay, sorry. Sunday, the 25th of February. We're going to be having our small online group readings, which you can register. You can find the link on my Larkin Psychic Medium page on Facebook. Susie and I will be doing those readings together. It's about 2 hours and it's small group. You're paying the fraction of a price of a more in-depth private reading, but it's with a very small group online. Susie has her little angel bundles that, what are we calling those, Susie? What did you call them?
Angel Toolkit.
Yes, angel toolkits. Please message her and check those out if you're interested in those wonderful tools. And, there's also the Awakening Your Intuition group, which for $28 a month, you guys can participate and get in-depth questions in a constant group and community. You can also check that out on my Facebook page. So we want to thank you all and hope you'll join us again next Monday.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. It's been amazing.
Much
love. Bye, everyone.